Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados, live every Saturday right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. We had an interesting week in comic books. We finally have sales data for 2022. We hadn't had that for months upon months. It's finally here. We're going to talk about that. We got the big event from DC Comics, Lazarus Planet, kicking off. We also have Dark Web. We won't go into that as much, but we will hit on it here a little bit and lots of fun stuff. I have a great panel of Comics Aficionados to talk about all this. Let me put their names up. I forgot to do that, so people know who we're talking to. First up, we have returning from 2022, Gabe Hernandez from Comical Opinions and Weird Science. How you doing, Gabe?
Happy Saturday. I'm glad to be here. I'm happy to talk about comics. I can't imagine what we're going to talk about because I don't think anything happened this week. I don't think anything important happened this week that anybody would remember. So hopefully we can figure out something to talk about, but I'm sure we'll do fine.
You've been suffering through some pretty bad comic books. So you reached out to me and you said, hey, Dark Web Miss Marvel, I need a doc review on that one. And
yes. This is how much I care about. This is how much I care about Doc. As soon as I picked it up, and I get them early, right? Because we write the reviews. I get them early. As soon as I read through that, I said, Wes, please get Doc to review this. Please send this over to Doc and make him suffer through this to understand the depths of what I have to go through every single week. Because
you weren't the only one. Drew also sent me some clips of that comic book. We're like, this might need to be addressed.
It's an abomination.
It'll be addressed on Monday.
Gabe, I am formally accusing you, and I'm taking you to the Hague for war crimes for making me read that fucking comic book.
Well,
I apologize, but there are some pains that must be endured. There are things that must be endured.
This is up on par with chemical warfare and biological warfare and genocide. Stop it.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but yeah, there's more depth to it than that.
Lane Kramer was hoping to see your T. Franklin face with that comic book, Gabe.
Teeny Franklin face.
T. Franklin.
Oh, T. Franklin. Oh, what is the T. Franklin face? I have to think about that.
You were just exasperated. It looked like you wanted to kill yourself.
Yeah, that's something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So we've got Comical Opinions, Weird Science. Obviously in the house, we're going to talk about that. We've also got Drew from Comics Lead. How you doing, Drew?
Doing all right, Wes. Getting ready for next week. Born of Blood 3 special edition launches on Kickstarter. Getting everything finalized for that. Got some hot covers. Got to have some cool extras. So yeah, stay tuned next week for that, guys. But in the meantime, I'm still reading new comics.
Did you read Dark Web Miss Marvel #2?
Oh yes, I did.
Did you recommend it?
If you want to die by suicide, yes, I recommend it. Yeah,
it's a bad comic book. You can tell that guy had never written a comic in his life.
No, especially the first, both issues. The guy's he's from Hollywood, and this is like his first comic book, and yeah, it's pretty rough.
That was pretty awful. Also joining us 2 weeks in a row. This never happens. You'll never want to talk to us this often, but he's had enough, folks. This is going to be the year where he puts it in the comic industry's ass and lets them know how he really feels. How you doing, Yul?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me on again. Yeah, I know too much probably for most people, but I appreciate it. And I thought, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and some comments were actually good this week. So looking forward to it.
This is the best, best of the week that we're gonna have.
Comics.
Absolutely. And Doc and I did a video that we posted after we had our conversation last week. You wish you were in on that one? I feel bad.
Wait, which one was that? Oh, that's right. Oh, no. You guys were slamming people.
We were going for it.
Doc made all the comic store owners sound like buffoons.
Well,
Doc, why are you such an asshole?
There is a lot of buffoonery.
It is. I mean, owning a comic store, you have to be some part buffoon.
Yes.
So just that alone, but I was listening to that and I was working, and I'm like, every time you guys were slamming stores, and I was like, oh my God, it's killing me here. Great video.
You know some owners of comic stores that fall into what we were talking about.
Totally.
Absolutely. Not every store is as successful as we wish they were. Let's just be honest with that one, but that was a good conversation. We won't get, that nasty this week, although Doc and Mario have already recorded a couple of videos. Who we got? We got the Sultan of Soup himself, the only man that has a comic book and a food channel on YouTube. How you doing, Sully?
I'm doing great, Wes. Thank you for having me on again. Comic books and food, two things that are great to put into your head. This is great. They go well together.
We're gonna have a good Wicked Pisser today.
We are feeling wicked pissa and rising with every moment here from downtown Boston here in beautiful Massachusetts of the USA. I'm not going to talk like that all day. No.
Hold on. I'm still stuck on the whole putting comic books and soup in your head. I mean, I guess that explains. I guess it explains the comic industry. They lack brains. They just have soup and paper.
Or all the eating scenes, all the conversations over supper.
Normally, I would say put those in your mouth, but
you put comics in your eyes. You put food in your mouth. It's just like
it's all part of the head.
It's all in your head.
Food is a sensory experience, Doc. It's not just the taste that gets you. It's the smell. It's the sight. Mm-hmm. It's the texture of. It's the hand feel and the mouth feel, Doc.
When you open that,
what does it sound like?
When you open the Arby's up, and then just all
exactly. Like Doc doesn't know what a frozen burrito sounds like when you eat it.
When the microwave goes beep.
We'll have to ask Fatal J about that next time he's on.
Oh, I invited Fatal J. He told me to screw off.
That's why I'm here.
Maybe. That's why I was here.
But it's good to be here. Good to be talking
Fatal
about
J's
comic
probably
books.
spending too much. Fatal J is spending too much time trying to get Netflix to buy Zack Snyder's Snyderverse or something.
Maybe he's good. Actually, it sounds like he might be here next week, and it definitely sounds like Gervain's going to be with us next weekend.
Yes,
we do have a couple of super chats. Let's hit these first. Lane says, "Speaking of sales, I know why they don't show bad selling numbers for the industry, but why don't the successes like Batman Spawn? Why don't they show that to get people hyped? They do. When there's a success like that, they will let you know that." There are 350,000 initial orders for the book. And when James Tynion took over Batman, I think they eclipsed like 150, and they do tout those sales. Right, Drew? You see it, right?
Yeah, we see it. And but the thing is, can you maintain those numbers? And it's like after a while.
Batman Spawn's a one shot. What you gonna do?
Exactly. And it also helps when you have a Barnes & Noble exclusive cover too. So you can get those numbers up.
And multiple covers. Multiple covers. And
offer a one in 666 signed variant by Greg and another 666 signed by Todd. There are connecting covers.
Yeah, if you have a Barnes and Noble exclusive variant and you're still only moving 350,000 units, you fucking failed. I mean, Star Wars had Loot Crate and Hot Topic and hit 1 million.
Well, they were forced to take that though. I mean, the people that got it in the box, they make their deal and then they put that out.
No,
right?
I get that. But the thing is, Loot Crate, a lot of the reasons why people they hide, back in the day, I don't know if it even still exists, to be perfectly honest. No, they bought a Loot Crate for nerd shit. So getting more nerd shit in your nerd shit box isn't surprising. I mean, you're kind of expecting it.
Right.
But this is what Cal Lyle has to say. The movie should have been called Wakanda Birth of a Nation. And I'm one of the people that thinks that drying Namor's back was saying something. I'm assuming he's talking about Wakanda forever.
Are they suggesting that he had a wet back? Wait a minute. Oh, can I say that? Oh crap.
Oh, fuck.
Jesus Christ.
I got it.
Cal Lyle, always keep you on your toes. There you go, buddy. All right, who else have we got left? Last but not least, Doc, I tortured you by making you read that comic book. We talked about a few other things. How you doing, buddy?
I'm here, and
Doc, what's better, Mr. Pibb or Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Pepper. I mean, Mr. Pibb's fine. It's a perfectly acceptable.
What about
substitute.
Dr. Thunder?
Dr. Thunder is
probably the best knockoff soda in the world.
It's definitely the best knockoff soda in the world. Right up there with, I saw that Pepsi did a knockoff Sprite that just came out.
If it's Pepsi, it's not knockoff. It's got to be a Shasta brand or some shit like that.
Yeah, I know. But they just had a new one that all of a sudden is everywhere. I'm really confused by their knockoff Sprite.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't tasted it yet, but I bought a little 6-pack of the mini cans to see how terrible they are.
I tried to order 2 cases of Dr. Pepper here and have them mailed to me.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's not going to happen.
That's
Kick in the
disappointing.
balls. That's my favorite.
What about
Drink, man.
Big Red? That's soda
Oh,
pop.
no.
You can't get Big Red here.
No.
Cream soda's good.
Wait, hold
If
on.
I'm
What
going
the-
to do cream soda, it's going to be like Henry
Big Red-
Weinhardt's or something like that.
Big Red's a fucking
Ooh.
chewing gum. You're thinking of Cherokee Red.
No, there's
No,
like a Big Red
is
soda
a
pop
cream
in
soda
Texas.
soda pop.
Yeah, it's huge. I never heard of it before in my life because I'm from Boston and we live a sheltered existence up here. We call soda pop tonic. I was at an airport bar and I said, "Hey, I want a tonic," and he gave me some fucking tonic water, and I'm like, "Dude, give me a
You
Coke."
deserve it for being a fucking asshole.
Dude.
That was your asshole tax. Yeah, have your tonic water. with
Yeah,
a
Big
lemon
Red soda
slice.
pop. It's huge in Texas.
Yeah, Big Red's great.
I've literally never heard of Big Red. I remember Cherokee Red from back in the day.
Mhm.
That was
No,
dope.
Big Red is a brand of cream soda. It's
Yeah.
good, but I like Henry Weinhardt's root beer or cream soda. I'd rather pay the extra and get the premium brand.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But you don't get any of that here. I might get some mug root beer sometimes.
Mugs
It's
are
one of those things being outside the U.S., unfortunately.
Mhm.
We got a couple more super chats. Whoa, Sally Akibe, excited to hear from Wes and Eric. We are the reasons to come to the party. Isn't that right, Eric?
Yes.
These other guys, they're just like, there's sprinkles on this Sunday. You know what I mean? I'm the fucking ice cream and he's the whole dish. You know what I'm saying?
And the know-how to make it. Indeed. Good to see you, Sully. From Sully. I love running into him.
Callum says they did. That's how they defeated him. I don't want to go back into that.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying, right? You guys get what I'm saying. I don't want to get there. He says Ezra Miller is not going anywhere, is he? I'm assuming that they're going to release the movie as is, and then he's going to get fired. He just, I think he just pleaded guilty to something.
To what?
Yeah, he-
Kidnapping or
No,
or
he pleaded guilty
imprisonment?
to
Trespassing.
burglary in Vermont.
Paid a $500 fee.
I was
Yeah,
going to
so-
say which one was it? The kidnapping, the grooming, the child trafficking, the guns, the home invasion. Which one was it?
It's burglary in Vermont, and he got hit with a suspended sentence.
I'm
Only-
shocked.
Only
shocked.
the charges you can actually prove. They prove those.
He's got the I can't remember.
I'm shocked another leftist Hollywood people didn't get in trouble for shit.
All right.
Well, you got in trouble.
Sally Akibe says amped about Lazarus Planet, waiting for the email. Absolutely. An absolute Lazarus Planet, we're going to get to it. I enjoyed the comic book. I know some people on this panel enjoyed it more than me, and some people didn't like it as much as I did. So it should be a good conversation. We'll see how it goes. Common Sense saw the CBR article of Adam DeMarco being Superman. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Who?
I saw some picture, but I couldn't believe it. He looks so normal. Like
I thought it was
less
Elliot
than
Page.
normal.
I thought
Who's
Elliot
the-
Page.
Who passed the gas?
I think Elliot Page would make a great John Ken. What do you?
Was that you, Sully? Who farted on the stream?
It was me. No,
You got to mute yourself, sir. What are you doing? I can tell you didn't even squeak like a shoe or something. That was absolutely out of your ass.
Oh my goodness! Oh,
Jeez.
was a
open
whoopee.
the
Adam
window,
DeMarco,
please.
this guy can't be Superman. Look at him.
I have no
like-
idea who this dude is.
He's really skinny.
He's
look.
wiry. He's very wiry.
Oh, so it's Beta Man Superman.
Yeah, it's fan casting.
Wait, they're doing young Superman, right?
What the
It
hell?
doesn't matter. He's fucking Superman. He's on a farm. Those guys aren't skinny.
Wait. But he could be a good fit for Jonathan Kent.
He could be a good fit for Jimmy Olsen. They already had a good John Kent in the Superman show on CW before he left and went back to wherever he came from.
Or
Akibe, I don't think it would be good for DC to let go of Ezra Miller until after the movie. You don't want to kill the movie before it comes out. Well, I think he's already killed the movie, but it sounds like they're going to go with that route. They're just going to stick with him until the movie's over, and then they can just get rid of him altogether. Probably
yeah,
deserves.
they'll keep him anyway.
Yeah, the Flash movie isn't going anywhere. I know folks are really kind of hot and cold depending on whatever Ezra's going through, but the Flash movie is going to be Gunn's reset button. That's going to be his reset button, so it's not going anywhere. It is coming out. It's a question of how much they reshoot it before it comes out, and the reshoots are going to dovetail into whatever Gunn's plan is, which he's working on. So it's not going anywhere.
Absolutely. So we finally have comic book sales. basically for the fourth quarter of
Probably don't.
2022. Although I think it might get into September as well. But we hadn't seen comic sales for months upon months, and I'll tell you, I was a little bit impressed. It almost felt like DC Comics decided to put up a fight, at least near the end of the year. They had some high-profile books come out. Batman, Joker, Deadly Duo was in the top 10. Dark Crisis was in top 10, but you would expect a DC Crisis to be number one. That's got to feel like a failure. But Batman Spawn, they had a couple things people wanted to watch, or read at least. And then the Harley Quinn, 30th anniversary, they were able to get some milestone money out of there, too.
Yeah, they were. I mean, they had been milking Harley Quinn. I mean, they had those weekly comic books just prior, or maybe I guess it was part of this set. Yeah, a lot of stuff. They had that Wildstorm anniversary, multiple covers upon multiple covers, as they usually do these days. Lots of reasons for people to spend money with DC. It's the usual suspects, and almost, I mean, it wasn't like new champion of Shazam was on that list,
No,
like
Batman Spawn is a one shot.
Sure.
Mark Silvestri is not going to come on and write an ongoing Batman series. It's only going to last a few issues, and
it's like
Harley Quinn's 30th anniversary is over.
Yeah, and I think it was Gabe that said, what do you have for me now? It's like, you ramped up for this last quarter, everything looks good. Going into the next one, you got people off your back. What now? But we've got Lazarus Planet, and we have some other things. It looks like DC is kind of turning a corner. Maybe they're actually listening to what people are complaining about or what they want. I do like the fact that, they do have some different titles out there, even if they're not in the top slots. But there's just no real, other than like the specials or the miniseries where someone's going to not be on, later on. Capullo's not going to be at DC anymore, or it sounds that way. Is it just smoke and mirrors?
It's not.
Is it smoke and mirrors, or is it really me hoping that going forward things are going to be better? And
but none of this is sales data. This is just a ranking. This is the exact same shit that the Mary Sue used to do to prove that Miss Marvel was super fucking popular, because they just put a ranking. We don't have rankings.
Stop. We're going to have to get over that. We haven't had concrete sales data in over 3 years.
I know that.
This
which
is
means
the best
it's
information
nothing.
that we have.
We have a ranking. That's it. That doesn't matter to anybody.
It kind of tells you the trends within the industry. DC at least had a bounce back at the end of the year, which was good for them because they weren't selling dick for basically all of 2022.
Yeah.
Right, but there's some nuance there, as there always is, right? So if you look at that sales data from December, it's more of the same in that most of the ongoing titles that are still ranking in that top 50 are all Batman or Batman related. The ones that were not Batman or Batman related were some kind of milestone title. It was Action Comics 1050, which was heralded as the return of Superman. It was Superman Son of Kal-El, which was dovetailing into that same situation. It was a lot of number ones. So it was more like the number one issue or the milestone issue spike, but none of those are related to ongoing title stuff. All the ongoing title stuff where DC continued to maintain a presence on that list was all still Batman and Batman related. The other piece of that, too, the one that I saw that I kind of pointed this out to a few other people, but which I thought was most concerning is Detective Comics.
That was
which
very
is
bad.
Which is one of the two flagship Batman books, was at number 50 and dropping. That's a problem. That's bad. When the only thing that DC has is Batman, and that's the only thing that's consistently keeping them on that top 50 list, and one of their two main Batman titles is at 50 in danger of slipping lower, that's a problem. And so
Rico Tamaki had bounced Detective outside the top 50, but they got a really big bounce back, it appeared, when Ram V took over. And it doesn't seem like Batman fans are really in love with Ram V's work there, Drew. And I gotta agree with them. After the first couple of issues, I'm kind of like, whatever. This is a little bit too much of a slow roll for me.
Yeah, I guess I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think Gabe was right about Ram.
There it is. Come on, wait a minute. Let me get back on camera so I can soak this in.
Don't say
start
that
over.
shit.
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it.
I'll just say Gabe was right.
There we go. There we go.
He's incredibly long-winded, and it's just like it's dragging out. And like, dude, get to the fucking point, man. Come on. You're writing a comic book, not writing a catalog.
He's writing a poem, I think, is the problem.
Yeah, it's like, it's not a fucking, it's a comic book here. Come on.
He's writing epic poetry.
Let me be fair about that. I'm not saying Ram V is a bad writer. What I am saying is his writing style, which is very soliloquy, it's very long, kind of prose. It doesn't work with action-based superhero comics. That's a bad fit for that style. So I'm not saying he's a bad writer. I'm saying his style doesn't match the content that he's writing for. And what you're seeing is people just keep tuning out. They're getting bored and they're tuning out.
Yeah. And when you have an artist like Ivan Reis, who I just feel like is being wasted, it's a shame. It is a real damn shame.
Well, I had Alberto Albuquerque on it before that. He's another good artist. That
that initial kickoff issue he had, there was some action in that. It was actually pretty good. And the art was really good too. But after that, it just really hit the brakes. And it's like, you got to get somewhere.
I think it's just, it's the superfluous Batman that's out there. Batman has his name on it. And I don't even know, to us with nostalgia and, that know the industry and things like that, Detective is the second Batman comic book. But with all the other ones out there at the same time, is it really the second most important Batman book? Is it more important than the Batman Spawn that came out? Is it more important than the Silvestri one? And then there's Fortress, and then there's Gilded Kit, whatever the hell they are. There's just so many. Batman and Superman, Batman versus Robin. And maybe it is the second, the second Batman book, the most important book of Batman. But when there's 10 other books,
a perennial top 25 seller though, for even when the sales were going down.
It's a shame that, like you said, Drew, that Ivan Reis would be, saddled with a book that isn't doing so well, because he is one of their top 5 artists. Mm-hmm. But it's just not working out. And it probably is more Ram V or Batman fatigue. Probably more Batman fatigue, I think.
Remember, though, Ivan Reis has historically gotten saddled with a lot of terrible writers. He got saddled with Chuck Austin on Action Comics back in the day. He's gotten saddled with because they expect him to sell books in spite of the writer.
He's damn good.
Yeah, he's great.
If I was like Marvel and I finally had my head out of my ass, I'd try and steal this guy for one of my main books, because this guy sticks around for a long time. He gets the stuff out monthly, and he's like, he's very solid. Yeah, he's more than solid. That's more of a Barry Kitson kind of guy.
He's Mr. Reliable. He's Mr. Reliable.
He's reliable, but he's so fantastic. And he's got great style. He's he's just a good artist.
The problem is Ivan Reis draws superhero comics. Marvel has no interest in writing superhero comics.
Well, if they ever got back to wanting to do X-Men for real, putting them some costumes and have Wolverine slash some shit up,
I
Reis would be really good.
He would be fucking fantastic. He'd be even better on Avengers. He might actually make that book readable. He would be the perfect artist on Avengers, but they'll saddle him with
they're going to have a new relaunch, I'm assuming, or pick up after Aaron, and then if they had him in the waiting to go, that would be that would be awesome.
But they'd saddle him with another Jason Aaron like.
Did he do the Jeff Johns stuff?
Yeah, the Aquaman. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh no, I meant when they did Avengers. Was Reis on that one also?
No, that was Oliver
Coipel.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was a couple other, but I couldn't remember.
I'd love to see him pick up some more darker stuff, like Justice League Dark, maybe a Creeper mini or something like that. I think that would hit hard.
I think it doesn't play to his strengths. Look, I understand trying to see something interesting and different out of a guy, but that guy is straight superhero, bright action color.
2-page splash pages.
Yeah,
that would be the way to go.
He is writing that 80s, early 90s Image founders mold. Why in the hell?
Put him on Legion then. Put him on Legion.
Yeah, a Legion book would be great. But they'd end up putting it dark, and I think they'd end up muddying the fuck out of it.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess back to the original point is
a bad book.
Yeah, the concern is DC had a stronger showing in December, especially compared to November, October, and September. That's for sure. But a lot of it, I hate to say it like this, but a lot of it is Flash. Like like number ones, it's gimmicky stuff with the Spawn book, which wasn't great art, but wasn't a great story. It was a lot of, like gimmicky. It's gimmicky,
unrepeatable.
Comics. Yeah, it's not sustainable stuff or ongoing stuff, and that's a problem because if the only way you can have a strong showing is to throw up gimmicks, you can't sustain that long term.
And very importantly, I want people to know, almost everything by DC is returnable. Especially when it's the first 3 issues. So number 1 comes out, and I could be a small store, but I want that incentive. As long as I'm on it and I return my stuff properly, I'm going to get all that back in credit. So you got a large number of books that I purchased returning. That's never going to be talked about.
Which also, by the way, DC ratio variants are fucking worthless. They're worthless because you could buy. They have no scarcity compared to the A covers because you could just return all the A covers. You could as long as the store has the so for all the readers, collectors, speculators out there, DC ratio variants absolutely worthless. Don't ever fall for them.
Really?
If you like DC Comics and you want to get the cover, I say go for it.
Yeah, I mean, but if you have any expectation of value out of them, they're eminently achievable for any store that has capital.
Doc, all I'm going to say is any DC ratio variants we get, especially if it's like a Nathan Zerdy variant or a John Boy, they're gone. We sell them on Whatnot. We sell them on our Facebook Live sales. They're gone.
Get them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get it. My point is they have no. The only point of ratio variants having value is scarcity compared to the A cover and B cover and C cover and whatever other covers there are. When you make all of those returnable, your ratio. So a 1 in 50 becomes a 1 in 5 because all you have to do is buy a lot that you don't need. You buy 50, you get the 1 in 50, you return 45. As long as you have capital to invest up front and can wait for the return on in credit, it makes it completely worthless. In the long term, for long-term viability, they are worthless. As long as the A covers are returnable.
What about the 1 in 666 covers that are signed?
Don't care. Then return 665 of them. Sell the one.
Well, you have to be able to afford putting out that money up front. All a store has to do is be well capitalized enough to make the initial investment. There are enough stores out there that can have the initial investment to wildly overbuy and then return all the unsellable A, B, and C covers. That's why they have no value because they don't have an actual ratio. Sorry.
Man, geez, Doc.
That's
my Wheaties while you're at it.
That's the look. You have
you want to tell me my dog has cancer while you're at it?
The whole thing is a speculatory bubble, and whenever the system is designed so that you can very, very, very easily with just a little bit of money, because any problem that can be solved by money isn't a problem. If you have with a little bit of money wildly over purchase, you've eliminated you completely game the system. It is a very easily gamed system that in the long term they become Franklin mint plates.
Doc,
all right, Doc. So what do you think about those Marvel
There's one major flaw with Doc's explanation. And that flaw is that most comic shop owners make smart business decisions.
Oh yeah, you are correct there.
You will exclude it, of course.
We do make smart decisions.
No, you don't.
Oh,
Not
okay.
you. Present company.
No.
excluded, of
I'll
course.
take the blame too. We don't make smart decisions.
All right, Doc, what'd you think about those Marvel sales? It doesn't look like Axe Judgment Day was the big hit that they thought it was going to be.
A ranking with no context tells me nothing again. So, but
oh god, okay,
Okay,
move
fine,
on.
fine,
Something.
no,
Glad you didn't read any of the information I gave you.
There's-
Drew, what did you think about the comic book sales information that we do have, which is apparently worthless?
So from what I saw, like going back to Axe Judgment Spray, like when I saw that down, like number 3 was down like number 97, I think, is in like November, December. I was like, holy shit, that is a huge drop. But it's heartbreaking when you do read a lot of these books, and you know how good a lot of these books are, and you see them being outsold by, like, say, Kevin McAllister Punisher now, or anything written by Ryan North or Iron Man or Something's Killing the Children or anything Star Wars. It breaks my heart seeing that, especially like Batman Superman World's Finest, when that should be a top 10 book and that's only selling near the 25 or 30 rank mark. But and also it also hurts seeing Miracle Man: The Silver Age. That's down toward the bottom in the 90s or the 80s and 90s. I'm like, because that is so damn good and people need to be reading that. And
yeah, but I mean, see, now you get a book like that. I don't know how many people care about Miracle Man still. Hell, I don't even know how many people care about Neil Gaiman in comic books still. And then something that's, finally getting picked up. I got to get everybody on the Alan Moore version first so that they can get to this. And those aren't readily available. So I could see why a book like I almost feel like they're putting that out of obligation. Yeah.
Honestly, the Miracle Man thing is a decade too late.
Well, at least.
See, Miracle Man is good if you're into Miracle Man.
Well, no.
I mean the Silver Age, the current one.
Okay.
So if you have no context or background in Miracle Man and you pick that up, it is wacky weird. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
But I would love to be able to say, here's the trade of Miracle Man. Get this because it's so freaking good, but it's not available.
Here's a wonderful zero
reader,
issue.
It's impenetrable for your new reader. It's so weird and wacky. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Drew, are you going to let him talk about your favorite comic book like that?
No. Hey, like, here's the thing. I can understand that. I understand the argument completely. Like, it's a very niche character, and he was a Captain Marvel knockoff in the 50s and 60s. Then is brought back by an independent company back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, Alan Moore had a great seminal run with them, but still, it was an independent comic, independent create, and it's just when Marvel bought the rights back in the early 2000s, they didn't do anything with it at all. When people were waiting, they just did reprints, took off Alan Moore's name, and recolored them, and that was it. And now we're finally getting them again. It's like, and they're not doing enough.
Well, they were going to continue through with the entirety of Neil Gaiman's book, but Neil Gaiman was late with it, yet still, again, you realize why he defends George R.R. Martin so much. Well, he ain't getting his shit done either.
They had the opportunity, and there was about 10 years ago, whenever they finally started doing the announcements about doing something with Miracle Man. It started selling old trades. It started drawing interest. It started getting people. Even whenever there was nothing in print, everybody started seeking something in print. You built demand and then failed to capitalize on it completely. And then they sat around and waited and even when they did the reprints, around the beginning of the Legacy era, when they started print, when was it that they did them where they were all polybagged?
Mm-hmm. That was that relaunch.
2012, I think 2012, 2011.
Yeah, it was 10 years ago, and then nothing, and then they wait another 8 years.
Well, they didn't. They were waiting on Neil Gaiman to finish the script.
Well, then they should have waited to fucking sell the.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, all comics should be done before they solicit them. Also.
Well, yeah,
all crowdfunded comics should come out when they're supposed to,
No, I get that, but
lateness in comics is just. I agree with you, Doc. I agree with you. They could have done it, but they were hot and heavy at the time.
They could have planned even a little bit. They're just like, oh yeah.
If they waited till now, let's just say they started now, they would have lower sales than they had then. they financially made the right move then.
Yeah,
they
and-
just didn't have the finish of it.
And
They figured, a year and a half would be long enough for Neil Gaiman to get at least one issue done.
quite possibly, yeah. That is a valid point. He was too busy trying to be, I don't know, on Doctor.
He's Hollywood gaming now.
Yeah, he was trying to be on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So
I was looking at Eric's comments in the chat, and yeah, I mean, really, when you really think about that, what Alan did there, it was like one of the first deconstructions of a hero. And honestly, when you really read that story, I'm trying to sell this book on people, but like when you read it, it starts off, you think it's going to be a superhero story, but when you get to the end of Alan Moore's run, it's like he's become the bad guy. He is the villain at the end of the story. It's like, what the hell is
Breaking
happening?
Bad.
Yeah. Introducing neuroses and abuse as like subtext and embellishing the whole trauma thing. And I really feel like, that's where it all started, was when Moore took over Marvel Man. And because I'm barely cognizant of that. I remember seeing Miracle Man by Eclipso on the shelves in the late 80s. And
Eclipse.
I really, Eclipse, yeah.
The other one's the villain.
Eclipso's a villain in the DC. Yes, you're
Eclipso owned Eclipse. There we go.
Comico, was right next to it. So here we go.
I often say like, oh, I was so lucky to be alive and reading comics as a kid in the 80s, but Miracle Man was coming out in 84, 85, 86. And that's when I was in high school. And man, those are some really, really great days. And we had some really, really great comics. And Miracle Man is top notch because like I was already not reading mainstream comics even before that all the time. And Miracle Man it was like, that's the cherry on top. It just, you guys, if you have not read it out there, when it gets collected again, and there is going to be an omnibus also.
It's already out. So Max MVP, he's got the omnibus. I got it. Kyle got it. We're going to be reviewing it. We're going to be reviewing my book on our channel because everyone needs to read this.
It's so powerful and amazing. Yes. And there's some moments where the art's really shit.
in book 2, in the Red King Syndrome, it's
Chuck Heckham is the artist. Does anybody know who that is? We just talked about him earlier. Yeah.
So interesting stuff there. It's glad we finally got some information. It felt like it was kind of being held down there for a while, Gabe. I think that wasn't an accident.
I could speculate. I don't think I will, but I could speculate. I think there is some probable coincidence to the numbers not being released in the fourth quarter until after the fourth quarter is already done. That seems odd to me that Comicron and ICV2 have been putting out these numbers on a monthly basis like clockwork. It's always around the 6th or the 7th of the following month. I mean, without fail for a few years now. And then all of a sudden they pause right when in the middle of the fourth quarter, and they missed the entire fourth quarter. It wasn't just a month or two. It was the entire fourth quarter. And then they don't release the numbers until January of the following. I mean, I'm not trying to be tinfoil hat about it, but that definitely seems oddly coincidental in the timing. That maybe they were trying to avoid bad numbers. It seems suspicious that they were trying to avoid putting those numbers out in the middle of that quarter or while that quarter is going on. Why? If that's truly the case, I don't know, but it's probably worth a moment or two of speculation. And so that speculation could be that they were trying to show that the numbers were not as bad or as good as they thought they were. That could be part of it. It could also be that, maybe Comicron, maybe the staff was just taking a well-needed vacation break and they just couldn't get to it in time. That's entirely possible as well. So who knows why?
It's more
but
like DC and Marvel reached out and said, hey,
knock it off.
Could you please stop letting people know things are dire here?
Right, because what's happened, especially over the last year, what's happened is as the numbers come out, that becomes sort of a monthly event for us, right? The comics ecosystem. When those numbers come out, everybody rushes to it. Everybody's got something to say. Everybody's doing articles and videos and everything else. So that it's possible that maybe that heat was getting a little too strong and they needed people to cool off. But yeah, who knows? You never know. We'll see.
I'll do a big wrap up of all the information that we do have here in a couple of days. I've already recorded stuff throughout or to go out to like Tuesday. So I have been very busy when it comes to getting content ready. I've already got a conversation with Aaron, got a couple with Doc, got another 5G thing that I've done as well. So those will be really interesting. We do have a few super chats. Let's get to these. We got Wacky Zashi's Tea House. Gray in the house says, thanks to your, Jim, and Eric's recommendations, I picked up my first Flash comic on Wednesday. It was such a good read. Thank you. Keep on.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, sir. And happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
I believe Gray just turned 50 years old. Can you believe it? I thought he turned 40. He ages pretty well, apparently. I wouldn't have said he was a day over 40 years old. What do you think, Eric?
I love it. I'm glad that we were able to keep, paying it forward with good suggestions for the stuff that, we're looking for. I mean, what do we want? Simple, well-told superhero stories. And this is Gray's first Flash. And I'm like, okay, I'm really psyched about that. I mean, because this is the gift of the Flash family. This issue got everybody. It's got Max Mercury. He's asking questions like, who's this guy? Like who's the kid? I'm like, oh, well, here we go. This is how it starts.
Welcome to the party.
Welcome, man.
Absolutely. If people are unaware what we're talking about, we did a stream last Sunday on Wakizashi's Tea House with Jim from Weird Science. Obviously, Eric was there, myself, and Graham. We gave our top 5 comics of 2022. Great conversation. If you want good recommendations, definitely go check out that replay of that stream. And happy birthday to Gray.
Happy
Very
birthday.
Nice to have you on the channel recently.
Yeah, 3 of us agree. 3 of us all said something good about Jeremy Adams' Flash, and he hadn't picked it up yet. So, there you go. That's a great suggestion.
I read 7. Oh, sorry. You got to go. Never mind.
Sally Akibe said, I'd love to be in the stream one day. I'll be the Nightwing apologist. But I do believe DC is turning in the right direction right now. There needs to be a Nightwing apologist. It's
That's
not
Josh's
a bad
job.
series.
I already read issue 100. I sent you images of that issue, Wes. Yeah, it's something.
But there's nothing really wrong with the current Nightwing run up until this point.
It's just a shade above boring from Round V.
It's just he doesn't do anything different with the book. It's like this weird love fest for Dick Grayson, which I get. But you'd like to see him actually defeat a villain here or there. He's defeated one villain.
Yeah, you're not going to see that in 100. Spoiler alert, you're not going to see that in issue 100. So
absolutely. Yeah. But there are definitely worse runs out there going on right now than Nightwing.
Yeah.
If you read Nightwing from DC Comics, you're not going to realize what's wrong with the publisher. Cal says the women that work at the Mary Sue need boyfriends badly, like Jessica Cal and that Velma person or vibrator. That's Cal Wild for you. And he said if Vita wrote a crisis, what would it be about? It'd probably be about Vita. She pretty much writes about herself.
Personality crisis.
Identity crisis.
Identity
crisis. Yeah, identity
I like it. I like it.
Intersectional identity crisis.
I like it even better. That's good.
Blade Graver, dude, give me Ivan Reese on Captain America Steve Rogers. Yeah. Ivan Reese on anything written well would be great.
Yeah.
Man,
as much as I like
Snyder's amazing.
As much as I like that comment, I'm slightly saddened that he has to qualify which Captain America he was talking about.
And I was thinking any Captain America would be fine. I mean, I don't like the fact that
I don't want him to illustrate with the 2 jabronis writing Captain America right now. It'd be wasted on a bad story.
Lansing and Kelly now going full time for your reading enjoyment.
I know
Do Bucky with the man bun? Yeah, it'd be amazing.
Yeah. Gobbin Sense says, heard that Josh Williamson's Green Arrow is a mini-series. He said the series will expand if they sell of the comics goes well. Do you think it will succeed? Based on everything that I've seen, no, it will not succeed. It will likely debut at about number 40, and then the second issue will be out of the top 100, and they will confirm that it's a mini-series. You don't think Green Arrow could be successful, Yul?
I find it. I mean, I've seen so many starts and stops with Green Arrow over my lifetime.
It's not like Mike Grell's Green Arrow was the number 1 selling comic in the industry, even though that was amazing.
Wait, what was that?
Mike Grell's Green Arrow.
Yeah, those were great.
But it wasn't the best-selling comic in the industry, even when it was great.
Yeah. I mean, look, you need to have those types of comic books so that, you need a palate cleanser. And something that just this is where other characters can come and join in the parade, villains, where we can experiment with stuff on Firestorm. I always bring that one up, but, that's a good example. Green Arrow.
Probably all about his Hawk son, though,
Connor Hawk.
I like him. I mean, he
was
had a
cool
series
until
for
recently.
a while, you know.
But
Yeah, I don't think it will like last forever. It will be a nice little run if it's a mini series, if it's 12 issues, if it's 30 issues. Well, look, we need those kind of series. People gripe about that Hawkman series. No, that was perfect because now it's over. It's not being ruined. You don't have to think back about it, and you can just go and read it. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Venditti's Hawkman was brilliant. Tom McCown says, will Wonder Woman be released from her current Clune-Rad hostage situation with the upcoming 800?
No.
Sales are justifiably horrific. Well, if DC Comics love Gabe Hernandez, they'll keep the current creators on Wonder Woman and torture him some more.
Yeah, that is very cruel and a hateful thing to say. It's also very true. So I'm going to accept it for what it is, but understand that's my lot in life. But at the same time, Clune-Rad's they're broadening their horizons. They're moving over to Valiant so they can write X-O Man of War just for you.
That comics is never going to be released.
They're pushing it. Valiant's pushing it. It's going to be happening. It's happening in March.
Going bankrupt.
Well, they're only doing one comic a month, right?
They're doing one floppy a month. Valiant.
Wow, if they
how can you pay bills like that?
I don't know.
We got Love Bombing coming up next with Wonder Woman. That's gonna be great.
Looking forward to Milk Gods and Love Bombing. This is what Wonder Woman is right now.
What was up with the milk? I don't get it.
Milk is evil.
It was some kind of like, MAGA hat right wing where racists love milk or some stupid thing like that Clune-Rad thought was clever.
And they
just
milk is good for you. Like whatever, man. That was bad.
Comes from women. Well, this is some kind of biology thingy going on here.
Now you're making it weird.
Eric, it's not that kind of stream.
I don't want to hear about you milking your mom, dude.
Hey, dude.
Callum Lyle says, I like what Gabe said weeks ago about wanting to do a John Carter comic.
Yeah.
I'll volunteer to do that with you, especially if Deja is involved.
Yeah,
they've been doing John Carter comics, and they've been doing Deja Thornton comics. I believe of Dynamite.
Dynamite has all those not all of them, but a lot of those titles. And they did a John Carter series recently. I think it was Rodney Barnes, and that honestly that was awful. That was an awful mini run with George Cambadice, who's right now doing the art for the Gargoyle series, which is a much better fit for his style. And so when people say, well, somebody's a terrible artist, that's a perfect example of an artist whose style fits a particular type of property or a particular type of material, but doesn't fit somewhere else. So George Cambadice on John Carter is horrible. It was horrific. It was ugly. It was just downright ugly. But you put him on Gargoyles, and it looks great. So that's a perfect lesson for editors in particular. When they're choosing people, you have to choose the right artist and the right writer for the right property. If you get that wrong, it's a mess. But if you get it right, it's great.
Ricardo Federici on a John Carter series that's written well would be amazing.
Yep.
Well, Dynamite has to want to pay someone to do something, and they usually get, I assume, pretty cheap people on the interiors. I mean, almost never is a Dynamite comic good on the inside. I mean, ever.
They have a few artists they tap, like a Jonathan Lau. Jonathan Lau is great.
I mean, it's always covers for them. That's all it is. I mean, I wish that guy was here right now. I'd love to talk to him.
A few Italian artists that are really good.
Company.
But it's inconsistent. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. Mariana Puglia, she's great. But
the interior artist for Draculina is really good too. I'll say that.
Yeah, I forget who that is off the top of my head, but the problem there is
they wouldn't ever make it at Marvel or DC. Not
you put
one
Priest
of them.
on that. You put Priest.
Well, maybe Marvel.
Like
Vasco Gorgiev was doing the Deja Thornton interiors, and he's working at DC now.
Really?
And then who's the artist? The artist that did the recent Barbarella, which is Madibek Musabekov. That art was fantastic.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Barbarella did look pretty good. I agree.
That was fantastic.
Again, not even close to what they present on the cover, though. Not even close.
Oh yeah, it's titty covers.
They got 5 different covers all the time.
You got Lucio Frio and Carla Cohen. It's gonna be hard to replicate that in the interior.
And the 5th cover is always a cosplay cover.
Yeah.
But
Paul Ebb says, I'm loving the comic book shop vibes from all these combos from the streams. Good job, Wes. That's what we're trying to recreate here. We've even got like the local a-hole and Doc. We've got the local Optimist. In Eric, we've got the comic book shop owner and Yule. We got Gabe. He's the know-it-all. And we got Drew, who's like the laid-back guy,
Comic creator.
Yeah. I'm the jerk off in the corner.
Oh, you're our wonderful host, dude. Cheers to you.
Yeah, you
Is
bring
Doc
it all
still out?
together.
He
You're
didn't come
stirring
back,
it.
did he? My goodness.
You're corralling the monkeys right now, Wes.
He's out there sucking a fag. You know what I mean?
Bundle,
Oi!
a bundle of sticks. A bundle of sticks.
There
A
we
bundle of sticks.
Have a smoke break. That's what he's
Holy
doing.
cow, this episode.
20
Saliaki Bay, DC is doing a slow build with Damian Wayne. All the hints to Batman 666 plus the growth character arcs. I see him clashing with Nightwing very soon.
What? Clashing? Aren't they pals still?
That's like his mentor.
I think the 666. He may be thinking of the Todd McFarlane, Greg Capullo variant that they had.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not seeing any big Batman 666. Garth,
They had
The Morrison Kubert
miniseries,
thing.
yeah,
like an anthology. I'm sorry, an anthology recently. They had Batman 666 in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, recently, I meant last year.
in Urban Legends. I didn't see it in
Maybe.
Urban Legends.
I can't remember where I saw it, but I don't see him clashing with Nightwing because Dick Grayson is his mentor. He's the one person in DC Comics he really respects even more than his father. But he clashing with Jason Todd would be amazing. That would be interesting. Although I think a lot of people think that he's going to be Jason Todd's Robin, like the homicidal one, you know?
Well, they're both crazy, so it would make sense.
He wasn't really crazy. We'll get to that here in a second, but you know, I like what they're doing with David Wade. Grateful Dog says, Airboy versus Bucky Barnes. Who wins?
Airboy.
Bucky. Bucky's a killer.
Bucky all the way. I mean, I guess we're talking Bucky Barnes, not Winter Soldier, right?
Goes in.
Not man.
It's Winnie Soldier with the.
But
you know,
I
sniper.
want retcon.
Oh, I'll
Bucky
go
Barnes.
Airboy.
Who
Airboy,
killed-
why not? Give a classic, a Chuck Dixon book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Airboy.
There you go. It's Airboy. It is Wraith X7. Instead of buying a Captain Marvel ripoff, Miracle Man, Marvel should have tried to go by Thunder Agents.
No, they have
Great.
tried multiple times with Thunder Agents. It has never, ever worked.
Look, yeah, Thunder Agents. Captain Marvel is, I mean, rip off. It's so hard.
Yeah.
It was a British comic book. They're emulating something that was the most popular comic at the time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At a certain point in time, basically all the heroes were different versions of each other.
Right, exactly.
different
So,
publishers.
it was obviously inspired and pretty much lifted from Captain Marvel for sure.
Totally. Oh, yeah.
But come on now. We're talking about what Alan Moore did.
Yes.
It's
Right.
the most, everybody thinks Watchmen. Miracle Man should be right up there on the same level.
I'm going to say is when I read Miracle Man when I was in high school, all because from a public access channel with a college professor started talking about Miracle Man and what Alan Moore did, it blew my mind in high school. And I still hold that above almost everything else right next to Swamp Thing that Alan Moore's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I like a lot of his stuff.
Mhm.
Alan Moore is great. He almost never has let me down because he's just so powerful and as a writer. But Miracle Man, Marvel got that. They got Angela in the return. They got the ability. I mean, that's the reason why they call it the original author and not Alan. I don't care what you do as long as you get my name off that fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean, what folks need to understand about Miracle Man and other properties like it, which is different than what's happening now, is you have a very talented creator with an intriguing or at least an interesting idea, and they want to run with it. They're not taking bargain basement writers where an editor said, "Here's the pitch, go write it," and then they just have to kind of imagine it when they may or may not be even interested in the pitch that they're given. It's a complete 180 of what happened in that scenario, which is why you see so little of the same net result. Alan Moore is a talented writer, and he had an idea, and that he had the room to run with it. You don't see that today anymore. It's mostly editors picking writers from a bucket and saying, "Here, this is the idea I want you to write. Go write it and make it good," which is rarely ever works out. That's the big difference.
Well, they all have to protect IP these days. When they're all owned by giant media corporations, Alan Moore is going to fiddle with your IP, good, bad, indifferent. He's going to fundamentally alter it. Granted, he's just the far more talented Jason Aaron, and he doesn't break things when they're done. But He changes them, and big corporations they don't like their IP being fiddled with too much.
All right, Sally Akibe says, "Where can I buy the Nightwing book early?"
Comics
All right.
Comics.com. We got it up for pre-sale right now.
It is on pre-sale, but you're not going to get it early. The reason Drew has read it is because he works at a comic shop and they've already received it.
Yes.
There is a chance if you have a comic book shop around, perhaps you can get it on the low. But if they were to do that, they would risk their opportunity to actually buy comic books in the future because they're not supposed to release them before the street date. Correct, Yul?
Yeah, having said that, I know of comic stores that put it out the minute they get it in or for that weekend. What are you going to do? They still only ordered a certain amount, so it's not really that bad. I read Flash 791. That was a good one.
Yes, it was.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's nice getting the books early. But that's just so we can talk to you up front about them,
Yeah, he's just getting a little 411 action. He didn't do anything wrong because he works at a comic shop. Apple Pit says, "Would Alex Ross be a good fit to take over DC?" I think he would be a good fit because I think he loves the characters. He knows how to create comic books, and he's been working in the industry long enough. He's never really been on a lot of ongoings and stuff like that, but I think he would probably keep people in line and keep them on deadlines and stuff like that. So I think it would actually be a good fit. Godwin Sense says, "I thought Wonder Woman milk story arc ties with Young Animals Milk Wars." I don't think so.
No, they're not that
Did
smart.
Eternity Girl come back? What are your thoughts on Mag's Eternity Girl? I don't have no thoughts. I didn't read Mag's Eternity Girl.
I read some of that. It was.
Do you like it?
Yeah, actually, it wasn't that bad. I mean, she was kind of doing the Tom King bit. The thing about Eternity Girl is, like, if you don't know who Mags is, then it's just a normal story of someone going through some stuff, right? But then you know who Mags is, and it feels like, oh, this is her working out all the stuff that she's going through, in Eternity Girl. And so it's hard to really not see the blurred lines there for me or those people. But I think as far as a story divorced from Mags Visaggio, the art's awesome. I think it's Sonny Liu. I'm not sure. I really like his style. And it's an okay story. It's just a little mini series. It's depressing as all hell. So you got to be able to handle that or want to read that. But it's good. It's not bad at all.
There you go. Lade Kraber says, "So has Marvel Comics been infected by the MCU humor, Love and Thunder levels, which Dark Web is a good example? This could be creative and editorial driven."
The humor is bad. It is makeshift humor. It's attempting to be humor. It's not even close to humorous. It's terrible.
It's post humor. It's Hannah Gadsby.
Well,
who is laughing at these damn jokes in these books? They're fucking terrible. I mean, I'm looking at this and like, editors agreed on this stuff. Like, who is laughing? I'm not. No one is here. No one here is laughing. I don't get it.
They're the same people that thought Hannah Gadsby's Netflix special was great because humor doesn't need to be funny anymore. Because we're in apparently a world where
it's ironic.
Things don't need to be what they are anymore. They're just whatever. Everything is whatever and nothing matters. So yeah, that's the editors.
You're not the only one noticing it, Lane. Absolutely. Sally Akabe says, "The most recent 666 reference was Dark Crisis tie-in. In Infinite Frontier, they said Damian was a dark future. Nightwing is great to clash because of his respect." It's difficult to pull off a Damian versus Nightwing story because the respect. Like, you have to write it really well to put it in a context where they would actually fight each other. It's like trying to get Batman and Superman to fight each other nowadays. There's enough history between the two characters that it's almost impossible to pull off anymore.
Yeah. Or an Anakin level heel turn, that could work.
Things have to stick, though. You can't. Nothing is ever fully realized because some new story has to occur or some event has to occur. I mean, even back when some comics were actually good and they did Marvel Axis, weren't they screwing around with stuff and then immediately screwing it back around the other way?
Yes.
And they're like, we got to fix this. This is wrong, and oh no, Disney bought X-Men finally.
Yep.
Shit like that.
Yeah, it was characters not as characters, but character comics as IP advancement. Yeah, and
Yeah.
IP synergy and alignment. It has nothing to do with fucking comics, and it has nothing to do with characters.
One of the worst ones was when Aquaman died, which, you know, they had some stupid world's crisis thing, and then he died, and then the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, or not Unlimited, the other one came out, and Aquaman was on the team, and they're like, oh damn, we got to bring him back in the comics, and it was like that was
The
Joe
tail
Kelly
wagging
getting
the
on
dog.
Justice League, and he had to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it was like, oh my god.
Was that like
Never
the
works.
Obsidian Age? I think that's what it was. They had to bring him back. That was the.
Yeah.
And Nightwing led the Justice League at that
I
time.
love that run. I loved it. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Common
highly
Sense
recommended.
says, Wes, why do you insist that Tim Drake be Batman? You don't like him as Red Robin? That's why he's his own man until Bendis and Fitzmartin disgrace him. I've never insisted that Tim Drake be Batman. I insist that Bruce Wayne is Batman. But the logical successor to Bruce Wayne as Batman is Tim Drake in my mind, because he's the character that most embodies what Bruce Wayne is without a lot of his faults. Obviously, he's got his own faults. I don't think it would be Dick Grayson because he's Nightwing. He's his own hero now. I don't think Damian Wayne would be a reliable Batman because he's a little too evil. Jason Todd obviously has taken his own path with the Red Hood. So Tim Drake is the logical successor to Batman, but I don't want him to be Batman. I want Bruce Wayne to be Batman. And do I like him as Red Robin? It's just another Robin name. It's a Robin derivative. Let him be his own superhero, just not Sparrow or Drake or whatever they call him.
Drake.
Drake. Oh, that's so bad. You know what I'm saying? Right? It's got to be Tim Drake replaces Batman.
Yes.
Yeah, according to James Tynan's run on Detective, when he had that dark version of Tim Drake come back as Batman, I enjoyed that. I thought it was really good. And you just see how smart he is, how much like as smart, if not smarter than Bruce he is, and just how much more capable and willing he is.
Obviously, we know it's McGinnis is going to be Batman in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
But
little
that's-
buffer period.
But that's after, Bruce is too old and Tim's probably dead.
Yeah. Callum says the people they hire now come off the short bus.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Hey, they're cheap.
That is 100% correct. So let's talk about Lazarus Planet. We've been kind of talking around it. We got Lazarus Planet Alpha kicked off this week. Ricardo Federici on art, Mark Waid writing. There's a backup story with Gene Yang that I didn't think was quite as effective. The problem with this is that it's not all going to be written by Mark Waid, but at least for one issue, and I think we're going to disagree on this one, Sully. I thought it was really good. Like, I was impressed. Oh, like, this thing feels pretty powerful stuff. When they had the big reveals, the reveals were awesome, especially with the art by Federici with the Nightmare Batman thing that was going on. And when their powers were going haywire and you could just see something was going on. I thought it was pretty good.
I gave it a reread after I watched yours and Jim from Weird Science Comics video. I watched that this morning, gave it a reread. And, it's I don't think it's bad. I'm not sold on it. I am grateful that I took a chance on it. You know what I mean? It's a $5.99 comic book. That's $6. It's a one-shot kind of thing. It's like, again,
It's not a full story. It's absolutely the
it's
introduction
not.
to a story.
Yeah.
And that is a problem with modern comic books. A lot of times you don't get your full money's worth, even if it's not a miniseries.
Yeah, I was really interested with the backup story. The backup feature is a monkey prince or a monkey king, his dad's story. I was like, so this is like this is a new part of the new thing, and it's like that's really interesting. I like the art enough. And what you were talking about being very pencil like, I think I kind of like that because it's kind of the opposite.
It was jarring when you open it up. It doesn't look like a regular DC event. It makes it feel different, in my opinion.
I think it like this. I mean, I think that Fraser Irving would have knocked this out of the park for me personally because he does spooky, dark, and magic, and he does. I think that's what this was going for in a way, tonally, visually. But I'm not disappointed with the art. I'm just more of I don't think this is my story. This is a story for me. And I love Power Girl. I love Power Girl's voice in this. I love Mary Marvel usually. She just seems a little bit kind of just like thrown in there. And it's always fun to see Power Girl and Supergirl team up, in my humble opinion. I like seeing that pairing. Basically the same person.
We know what pairing you're talking about.
I love the boob windows every time they showed it. Let's get like all the boob windows we can until they change the outfit once again.
And then we'll get.
Gabe,
boob
are you going to
windows
set
again.
this guy straight yet or not? You love this comic book. You said it was basically perfect. You gave it 9.5 out of 10.
You did?
Is Gabe left?
Gabe
did
will be
leave.
right back.
No, I'm here. Sorry, I'm just having some technical. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Kinda.
echoey.
You're in a
Your
cave.
mic went
Yeah,
out.
sorry
huh?
about that. Yeah, just
You're in a bat cave?
just having a little technical. Well, no,
Bark
not
twice if you're in
exactly
Cleveland, Baxter.
that. Yeah, I loved it a lot. The reason, the challenge that I've been having with events, especially over the past year, is none of them felt big, none of them felt important. The stakes didn't feel established. You didn't have a sense that the characters were reacting to whatever crisis they were faced with a sense of direness and urgency and drama that needed to match the scope of the crisis that they're being faced with. This had that feeling. You have this Lazarus storm that's engulfing the earth. It's turning magic and powers and technology upside down. The characters are reacting in kind. I know that sounds very simplistic to say, oh, well, the characters just need to react to something that's scary by being scared. Yes. And unfortunately, so many of the crises and events and big issues that have come up over the last year, you have characters not acting in accordance with what they're being faced. And so it feels off. This felt right. This felt like it was in place. If anything, the only reason I didn't give it a higher score is because the one thing about this issue that kind of put me off a little bit was the backup issue, because it was so jarring to transition from Mark Waid and this big Lazarus storm that's engulfing the earth. So all of a sudden you go to this sort of
Lighthearted Gene Yang shit.
Yeah, Gene.
Oh no. Sounds like he fell out there. Drew, I know you like the comic book as well.
Yeah, Oh, is he back?
He's something going on.
Okay. I have to echo Gabe's sentiments about this book. It was one of probably my number 2 of the week. I thoroughly enjoyed this all the way through, except for the backup. That's where it gets really jarring toward the end.
He's lost.
Okay,
his time.
he's broken.
But I will.
History.
Just keep going. I'm trying to mute him, but I
So,
can't.
but I did watch your guys' review yesterday, Wes, with Jim, and I know Jim echoes. He was saying some concerns about some follow-ups with some anthologies, or maybe some disconnect. It won't be as good, and he is right, because I have read the anthologies for next week, the tie-in for this, and it is not good. Let's just say you have a character stealing John Kent's cape, because that's exciting, and some stunning and brave new teen characters, and and you have things that happen in Lazarus Planet in the first issue. When you get to this anthology issue where we see those characters again in the anthology issue, it's like, wait a minute, they've already interacted with each other. Batman is transformed. Why is all this happening? It's like the first issue never even happened, and it's not set up at the beginning like this takes place before Lazarus Planet. So there's already problems here. And
That's the big problem, is because Mark Waid is writing the Alpha and the Omega, but he's not actually writing the story. It's a bunch of anthologies from like Leah Williams and Josh Williamson and Tim Seeley.
I will say, be prepared for some disconnect in the next issue.
So the Superman one isn't that good next week?
Which one?
The Superman one?
No, the Assault on Krypton is not that great.
Oh man,
No.
I'm not reading the Batman stuff, but
I'll give you an example. I think it's a 3-story anthology, if I remember correctly.
Four.
That's right, 4. And the first one is written by Nicole Maines, who was the person who played that trans character on Dreamer on Supergirl. So
man,
that's your lead off.
There used to be a time when you had to write a script and send it to the company to try and get into the company, get in the industry.
By the time we get to the John Kent with the guys, hey, don't you go stealing stuff anymore, all right? Then he steals John Kent's cape. It's like, what is going on here? It is ridiculous. One issue. What took us 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
So the worst fears that we had are absolutely founded, is what you're saying, Gabe.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
at least this time. This one
except for anything written by Mark Waid.
Yes.
Well, he's only writing the Omega.
Which is ridiculous. He needs to be doing this whole thing. He has to. It's
I'm
ridiculous.
trusting my
As much-
feelings to pass on this, right?
As much as I don't like Mark Waid's personal professional shenanigans with the behavior and all that stuff, right now Mark Waid is the one reliable writer at DC that gives you something that's consistently good. So if DC's got any shot at it in a better future, right now it's all sitting on Mark Waid's shoulders.
Yes, absolutely.
I do like the way he writes this. Can I share this with you real quick? Can I read this real quick? It's the narrative caption that opens up our tale, and so it just sets up this story. And I'm loving it, this part, because this is like old-fashioned comic books. When the ancient evil known as the Devil Niza pitted Batman against Robin, he brought hell to the Bat family. But when the Dark Knight went toe-to-toe with Niza, hell broke loose worldwide in the form of a massive volcano spewing magical energy. Lazarus Planet Alpha. That's a good way to start off a comic book. It might have fell flat with me overall, but I really dig the hell out of that classic narrative voice. Mark Waid knows how to write a DC comic. I'll give you that much.
Yul, did you get to read the Lazarus Planet Alpha?
No, in my Batman, in my
anti-Batman
phase, I said, you know what? This is an alpha issue. If the first page doesn't have Batman on it, I'll read this issue.
Mm-hmm.
But there he is in the first, the first.
He doesn't really
page right
speak
there.
though. He's like dead or died.
I don't care.
Or maybe he's coming back.
Then you know what? All the more reason not to show him. Batman's
It's
dead
really
at the back
good
of the plane, but no, he's in the front of the plane for some reason.
Damian Wayne ends up becoming the leader, and you've never really seen him like this. It felt like character progression. You just don't see characters progress anymore.
I loved your video on it, though. By the way, Wes,
Yes.
I really felt like I was missing out, but I don't.
It was pretty damn good. The problem is Mark Waid's not writing the rest.
I was going to read the Superman one today, but you guys have ruined it for me.
Who's on the Superman one? Nicole Maines on the Superman one?
I thought at least there'd be a Philip Kennedy Johnson issue.
Yeah, that's what
I've got it right here with me. I can show the pages if you want. Holy crap.
No, just who's the writers on that one?
Let me pull it out. Give me a minute. Talk amongst yourselves.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to do this.
Vamp.
It's
Nicole Maines, Leah Williams.
Yeah.
Some of my favorites right there.
Frank Barbieri.
So shit and shit.
Frank
and
Barbieri's
There it is.
Well,
writing.
like Frank Barbieri.
Yeah,
Frank
he's somebody that
Barbieri.
should be on a
Isn't he
backup
just
story.
an artist?
C.S. Packett.
Yeah, that's the cover to get.
Yeah, Nathan Zerdy.
Oh,
Zerdy.
Is
I
that
don't
a
know if I
Mercy
like
one-shot?
Zerdy
Yeah,
because it's like it looks good, but it also looks like it's an AI computer, program.
So we've worked with Nathan Zerdy for the past 5 years. We've known Nathan Zerdy. I bunked with the guy, but this is not.
Were you inner spoon or outer spoon? That's my question.
I like that one.
I'm a big guy, so I got to be the big spoon. That's how it
You're
works.
the outer spoon. All
Yes.
right. Well,
Does he draw?
Dirty.
Does
Yes.
he draw on paper?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I would love to see a sexy lady that he draws. Yeah.
That's
we
a-
got
that's-
those books here. We got plenty of them.
Yeah, if
Really.
you go to the
that's before Rise.
website
That's
for
before Rise.
for the comic shop, you'll see a lot of Nathan Zerdy sexy covers.
I will say the best story in this book is the one by and my best quote in quotations was the breakthrough that by Frank Barbary about Mercy. I think that was probably Frank. Yeah, that was probably the better one out of all of them, honestly.
Well,
If
he's
you
been
read-
around a long time.
Lazarus Planet Alpha, and you're like, man, this is really good. I'm glad Wes turned me on to this. And then you read the other stuff, not by Mark Waid. I told you so. We said that was a big concern for the comic book, but the one issue was really good.
Well, I'll be affecting my orders accordingly for sure now.
But
unless of course they allow us to return them, and then they're going to have a great first quarter.
This John Ken story by C.S. Picot, it is terrible. It is
not a comic book writer.
Terrible.
I did a video on that lady. Well, I was pointing out all the bad writers on Lazarus played it. That was one of my highlighted. Like, there's so many writers that shouldn't be there, Doc. It's not just DC either. It's Marvel. They're just because you wrote a pilot episode for a TV show that never got made doesn't make you a comic book writer.
Of course it doesn't, but it does mean that they're better than.
Does that make you a celebrity? They're treating them like they're somebody. Nobody's heard of these people.
To the comic book industry, yes,
Yes,
Look,
exactly, Doc, because they've been doing it forever.
Yes, because they have been doing it forever. Literally, the shittiest television writer on the planet is a celebrity to the retards in the comic book industry.
Chris
These
Cantwell,
people, it's the people that they want to be. They would consider being a failed TV script writer as a step up in their station in life over being a well-selling comic book writer. The entire industry has a wild inferiority complex. It has a massive inferiority complex to Hollywood in general. It's the reason why they decided, hey, this thing that Hollywood has tried to imitate, serialized storytelling that we are great at for decades now. Hey, let's just throw that shit away and copy their bullshit season concept and their season format for our fucking comic books, and then wonder why they fail. This entire industry is made up of people with massive inferiority complexes, and
it might have always been that way, though.
No, it is. It is. It's
maybe not Jack Kirby,
dude,
but
dude,
some of the others.
Like most of your artists back in the 60s and 70s, when they weren't getting work in advertising and storyboarding, they were slumming it back in comic books.
Well, it
wasn't. Stan Lee left his real name and used a pen name for comics because he really wanted to be a novelist.
Yeah.
And he was saving his real name for everything else. This entire industry is just inferiority complex after inferiority complex. Doesn't matter if it's the literature industry, the actual print industry, media, television, film. They all feel like even being the shittiest one in that field would be better than being the best one in their field.
Right.
I blame George Lucas. I blame George Lucas.
Why George Lucas?
Because he invented Industrial Light and Magic, which made special effects possible. So up until the mid to late 80s and the early 90s, you couldn't do superhero in live action because they didn't have the special effects to pull it off.
Yeah,
you just couldn't make that reality. But with Industrial Light and Magic, that made that possible. And so what happened is the comic folks started to think that they could intermix with film and television folks and vice versa. And it just turned into a big gobbledygook of mess. That's how that happened. So special effects, digital effects, if you want to call it that, are partly responsible for where we are in comics today. And it's a crying shame because prior to that, you came up in comics because it was its own ecosystem. It was its own industry. It wasn't you always had crossover. There's always exceptions. But by and large, you came up in the comic industry because you wanted to do comics.
Right.
You didn't have that crossover in the same way that you have it today. And so the whole mentality about what is the career path for working in comics is completely skewed off course. And people just don't understand. They don't view writing comics as something to achieve as a form of excellence.
Well, yes and no. I do agree with that for the most part. But I think you are wrong in thinking that it didn't exist before that. I think you're dealing with scale. There was only a handful of creators in comics that were really thought that they could go beyond there, that this was a stepping stone for them. Now every schmuck, every Tom, Dick, and Harry that walks into the comic book industry just thinks it's a stepping stone to Hollywood. Before a lot of them did want to be there. A lot of the artists did slum it there. And sometimes they just did that because they could do shit in comics that they couldn't do when they were working in Hollywood or Madison Avenue.
That's what Michael Golden was that way.
Yeah. And even guys like Steranko, and Neil Adams.
Yeah. But Neil Adams, they all had they cut their teeth doing comic strips or something like that, and then made real money and then came back and then went back and made real money.
Yeah. It was a passion project to come back over, or sometimes
Marv Wolfman wrote G.I. Joe episodes,
Yeah. Yeah, and Larry Hama did had a lot of involved with. So they would have their feet in both worlds, but they didn't necessarily, and they kind of were a little embarrassed. They weren't anywhere near as embarrassed as most of the creators there now. Whereas, oh my God, honestly, it's like, you know, they feel like being in the comic industry is being the fluffer on a porn set.
You think that's the way it is? I mean, they use it as their badge. I mean, if you're using it as your badge to get into some other place, I mean, you can't diss it fully. I mean, it's not as embarrassing as it was back in the Stan Lee days.
Mm-hmm.
You're muted, Drew.
Yeah.
If you're talking,
you try to cut in.
All right, yeah. So I'm a new comic book writer. I've been writing for over a year now, and this has been my dream since I was in first grade. I've never wanted to work in Hollywood. None of that shit. It's like I wanted to write a comic book, and I'm getting to do that now, and I'm doing it to the best of my fucking ability because I want people to have my enthusiasm reading it for as much as I'm writing it. So, and that's my focus as a writer. I'm hoping other writers have that too, but some don't, unfortunately. But my aspirations are to tell a kick-ass comic book story, nothing else outside of that.
right, and the big part of the big difference there from what you just described versus what. So, for example, I'm in a lot of like editor groups on Facebook with like Report and Jevons and a bunch of other folks where so I pick up a lot of information. There is a very concerted and very distinct status that goes along with I'm a Marvel writer or I'm a DC writer. It's not about whether or not I can write the best Batman comic or Captain America or whatever it is. It's having the status associated with being part of that particular publisher. It's the name recognition that goes along with it. So you don't see people chasing after, well, I want to write these awesome Black Panther comics. You know, I'm picking on Black Panther as an example. It's, I just need to do whatever I need to do so I can get into Marvel because it looks good on my resume to say that I wrote for Marvel. So they're chasing Marvel or DC or maybe Image or whoever else so they can get that name on the resume, but they're not doing it because they love to write comics. Because right now it's easier than ever to write your own comic without being associated with the publisher. You can, I mean, Drew, you're a perfect example of how you can do it on your own, right? If you want to crowdfund or if you want to put something up on Indie Planet or Gumroad or you know, do one of the other Indiegogo or Kickstarter or whatever else you can imagine, is if the goal was just to create comics, you don't need a publisher. That message right now is loud and clear. But what you have is you have this ecosystem of people that aren't chasing the idea of writing a comic. They're chasing the idea of writing for Marvel or DC as a status symbol.
Nailed it.
That's where you get the big problem of mentality and mindset and attitude. And that's where the attitude is very destructive right now because you can see it in the quality of the writing because they don't care about what they're writing. They just care that they Marvel on their resume.
Yes, or like being owned by this this blanket corporation. Now you've already passed through HR. Now you can move around. Now you work for Marvel. Heck, I really want to be working for Pixar.
That's why all the DC writers came from Warner Brothers Animation.
Yep. That
we have right now that are, well, besides Jeremy Adams, that are pretty bad. We do have some super chats. Let's hear from these. I think this is Uruguay. Odin, you're 87. Running to the aficionados West, I'm reading New 52 Green Lantern. Johns was great, but I get to Vendetti and Accord is in shambles. Carol's in love with Kyle. Hal's a terrible eater. Plot jumps everywhere. What happened? Well, that was like the end of the New 52 where they're there. I think they were just trying to get stuff out while they were getting ready for Rebirth. I think you also worked on Flash or whatever. But if you get into Robert Venditti's Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps in Rebirth, you're going to read one of the best Green Lantern runs of all time. It's 50 issues with like a Hal Jordan Green Lantern Corps Rebirth. So there's one extra in there. There's probably an annual or something, but it's absolutely fantastic. But DC Comics was in shambles at the time. It's just a reflection of what was happening at DC.
Was that when Hal Jordan grew out his hair and had like the backpack and he was
no, that was the 52. That was the DCU, the new universe.
Okay, thank God.
White trench coat.
Oh God, that was terrible. I mean, that was like a nightmare I woke up from. I'm like, that really happened.
Superman was a biker and he had his cape as like knuckle protectors, and yeah, it was weird. Weird time.
Can you imagine Superman with knuckle dusters? He's dropping fools left and right.
He needs that.
The shape of it is that the New 52 started off strong. the first year to it, and I think you were doing that, so you can back me up. The first year or two was great. They were giving Marvel the business, and then what happened was they for a number of different reasons, they just couldn't.
People realized
a lot of it was smoke and mirrors. You couldn't handle the 52 different
year
titles.
zero happened.
They ran out of their plans, and then they started branching off to new stuff, and it turned out it wasn't the great concept without an actual long-term
there
vision.
was always the problem with what I just read and now what I'm reading. How does this marry? You've got Green Lantern that continued on. You've got Batman who has a Robin every 2 years. That type of stuff. Like this it doesn't work out. Like as 60 years of time, actual time has gone by, and I never really questioned the continuity as much as I did in that minute when it started up again. And you got Action Comics not being as good as we had hoped. You got Superman, and that was fucked right from the beginning. And we should do an all show on New 52.
That would be cool. I'd be in on that. I thought that Wonder Woman by Azzarello and Chiang was that was good.
It was great.
I'll skip that week.
And
maybe we could do a new universe for you, Doc.
There's a good Aquaman run in New 52 as well.
Wasn't Scott Snyder had his hands on Swamp Thing at that time too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
I missed that.
There was an Animal Man. That was really good too.
Yeah, somebody actually took a decent run at OMAC. You had some other stuff going on.
Didio was right in that one, I think. Yeah.
And Phantom Stranger, he was doing that too.
I'll give the New 52 credit for at least going for it.
Well, and the thing is that it wasn't all Batman. There was 52 different titles. That would be like 25 Batman. Right?
They had a Blackhawks title. Jeez, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I remember one of the things that we were saying here is, this is a reset to make it accessible. We're resetting it to make it accessible. And I said, okay, let me bring bring kids in. And my son wanted to bring Green Lantern. He was much younger than, obviously. And he picks it up, and all of a sudden you see Green Lanterns decapitating people on page 3. I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean by accessible? What are you trying to get at here? And he's like, we're trying to reset the continuity. Well, that's not what accessible means. So maybe we have different interpretations of that. And so they had some problems on the onset, and they just couldn't keep the pace. Having all those titles all interconnect, all moving in the same direction all at the same time, it just wasn't sustainable long term with the way they were trying to coordinate each other. And it started strong.
And this guy's problem is he got to the transition period where everything fell apart. That's why it feels like that.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah. Calvin says, is Lazarus Planet still going to lead to the Justice League Dark? It contradicts the disband thing, a new Shadow Pact. I never read the original. Is it good? True? Oh, he's talking to the people in the business.
Sean and Ali Garza just walked in. Give me a second.
Oh, yeah. All right. Now, is it leading to this new Justice League Dark? It would seem that way. It certainly has the
Ali
vibe.
Garza's here. You want to say hi, Ali Garza?
Hello, sir.
Ali Garza. Wow.
What's up, guys? What are you guys doing?
I mean, on paper,
Hello.
it's supposed to. Hey, good morning.
Talking
On
about
paper, it's
comics.
supposed to-
We're talking about
it's
comic
supposed to
books.
lead to Justice Dark on paper, but plans change. You never know.
Well, I don't.
So how you been, Allie? How's
Allie.
everything going out there on the left coast, East Coast?
No, I'm in central Minnesota, so I'm Midwest.
You're visiting.
Yeah.
Very
No,
nice.
I'm just down here for the weekend, making some money, spreading
nice.
money. Everything's going well. So you guys are talking about Justice League Dark.
Are they coming back in the Lazarus Planet event? Have you heard anything?
Don't ask me. I haven't followed DC since the last time I worked for him, and that was about 12 years ago. Your guess is as good as mine.
Smart man. Don't pay any attention.
You missed a lot of pain.
It's good to see you guys go back.
So what were you saying, Gabe?
No, I was just saying, on paper, it's supposed to lead into Justice League Dark, but that could change depending on how things go with DC. This feels like 2023 feels like a very strange year for DC. Maybe others feel differently. I don't know, but for me, it feels like they're on probation. Is the only way I can kind of picture it. That they're tasked with making things happen, and so far they're off to a bumpy start. But who knows?
Well, the first issue of Lazarus Planet was good. 1 Minute War started out pretty okay. Obviously, we've got a big Superman event coming up and another Batman event.
Yep.
Of course, they need to nail the landing on Lazarus Planet. Doesn't sound like that's going to happen.
I mean, I'm not over the moon with Action Comics 1050 and how that played out. That was so-so, not great. If you read the Lazarus Planet Assault on Krypton, also not great. And then everything else is just, you can wash your hands of it and never read it again, and you'd be perfectly okay. And that's not a good place to be for somebody who's a DC fan.
Absolutely. Caleb says, but what comes next, however? No one's going to care about the new trans character fetish and who we are told you will like. It's just like a lost cause. I don't know why they keep doing this stuff, Yul. It's like you have this idea, Lazarus played it, then you have to stuff it full of all the stuff that's tanking your series or your publisher kind of across the line to begin with.
Yeah.
A trans character is not going to get people into a comic shop for the most part and get a comic book on a pull list.
Look,
I am a full-time fan.
I don't know. I don't want to be insulting. I agree with you, though. I mean, we're not talking about. I know you will. So hold on a second. No, I mean, I'll probably say something wrong anyway. What I'm saying? Look, you got to lead with your best foot.
That is their best foot.
And I don't think that's it. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, at least the first look, I waited till I read the Supergirl story in the back of Adventure Comics and stuff like, whatever it was, you read the Superman story up front. And as far as the fetish, I don't think that's a thing necessarily.
I call it.
Well, I think it's about the publishers are obsessed with
I know.
Characters.
I mean, I understand.
If you do it enough times, maybe one will work.
It's probably more of that, Doc.
Yeah, no, it is. And then you end up with 500 that nobody cares about.
Well, can't you just write a character and then like things happen and then you find out, everybody's origin has to be right up in the beginning. That their sexual preference, their gender, identity, things like that's not a character trait.
I need to know the character's pronouns or I just can't get into them.
And then you have to have every member in the Justice League validate them for how amazing they are.
Are we forgetting that the people that are writing and editing these things, they believe that is a personality because that's the only personality they have. They are a blank slate except for some adjectives. That's it.
If you can only have a trans person write a trans character and a black person write a black character and a whatever person write all the things, why are you creating? You can't create a comic book on Thunderbird because you only have one native writer. If they,
and that was terrible.
Why would you make that as a comic then?
Yes.
I want to do a comic where everybody is represented and everybody that can write it will write that character and everybody that can draw that character that is that character you'll never get the comic finished. You know what I mean? Like if the original X-Men had an African penciler and an Irish penciler and on and on and on, and Len Wein can't be the only writer. You got to get somebody that's, black and somebody that's Russian. You'll never get that finished.
Man, it's a weird thing going on with comic books. Lane has to say, why does Mercy look like Cyborg Lady from Superman 3?
She's been affected by the Lazarus effects of the volcano. She's gotten circuitry, computer stuff going on with her in the book. So
it's one of the big mysteries that they were trying to promote the book on.
Yeah.
HH from Sigma Comics. Shout out to Wes and the top comic book experts from Otaku Fest. Miami TC is where people who truly know comics go to let loose. No holds barred, let the fist fly. So apparently HH and Sigma Comics ended up into some litigation because there's another comic book coming out from another one of the big three publishers about somebody that's maybe very similar to his character Calico, which obviously is coming out from Diamond Comics very soon. And they're like, you can't copy our idea. And he's like, this comic book's been done for years. So apparently they got it all worked out, but he had a little bit of a headache there. But if you're in the Miami area, definitely go to Otaku Fest and see HH, the guy from Sigma Comics. They had a good outcome, and the comic book will be coming out from Diamond very soon. But they try to say he was stealing their ideas. His idea has been completed for years at this point. They're just now putting it out through major distribution. Congratulations, guys.
You got the super chats to prove it.
Absolutely. I've got the comic book. He sent it to me. So let's talk about Marvel. I guess we've been talking about DC for too long. I saw somebody saying that.
Yes.
We've got Captain America versus Black Panther in Black Panther number 13 from John Ridley. He's a superstar because he wrote a movie once that got some acclaim. And it's the oddest interaction I've ever seen between Black Panther and Steve Rogers, Captain America. He basically, Doc, tells Black Panther to go back to Africa or he's going to kick his ass. Did it seem strange to you?
Well, it seems exactly par for the course for John Ridley. Racist piece of shit. Look, he's an untalented hack writer that boils every single thing he does down to the lowest common denominator stereotype. So Captain America to him is, remember, I mean, he just finished that fucking Black Panther story where he called Captain American, with the colonialist that he called him like what, Major Jingoism or something.
Yeah, like Jingo Warrior, I believe it was.
The Jingo Warrior. Fuck yourself. John Ridley can just go fuck himself. It's that simple. The man deserves. He has no business being in comics. So you know what? Having him stuff a bunch of lowest common denominator racist bullshit into Captain America's mouth is exactly fucking par for the course because the guy doesn't know shit about comics. And honestly, nobody should buy anything that his name's on. I don't. His name goes on something. And you know what? This has nothing to do with his time at Marvel or anything else. I've done this since back when he did The Authority Human on the Inside, which is the giant biggest piece of shit that Wildstorm ever released before Grant Morrison fucked it up. So
Drew, I know you read the comic book. You probably recommended it in your top 10 comic books of the month. Or the week.
Absolutely. It was I think my number one of the year so far. I'm going to have my top 10 of the year. But but the thing is, when we were reading the series early on, when it was starting off, it wasn't bad. It was
it was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
the first story was pretty cool, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I liked it.
Yeah, but as the series evolved, and we there was really this underlying sense that John really just does not like T'Challa, does not like what he represented, does not like what Wakanda was, and it was pretty much everyone under the sun berating T'Challa for who he is, what he did, just everything. It's like, what is fun? There's nothing fun about this anymore. And then you get to that, like that crazy issue with the colonialist, and it's like, I am tapped out. This is too stupid, berating, belittling of a great character here. And the Captain America issue recently was the cherry on top of the shit Sunday. And how this guy keeps getting work is ridiculous. Thank God. Hopefully this is almost over. Whose voice
was worse? Was it worse what he did with Captain America saying that to T'Challa? Or was it worse T'Challa just kind of taking it and then getting his ass kicked?
T'Challa taking it. T'Challa would not take that. No, it's just wrong, and because T'Challa just reading even. I'm just thinking that recently when Jonathan Hickman was writing his New Avenger stuff, the interaction with T'Challa and Namor was beautiful, it's perfect. And just when you read that T'Challa, there's no way that T'Challa would take this crap, and it's ridiculous.
And then at the end, the thing that T'Challa, he's like got aid from somebody. I was like, that person and them and T'Challa. That doesn't play with anything that's happened. I mean, unless something's happened in this series that I haven't read.
No, we're really
seeing going to help them out.
John really is writing T'Challa as the bad guy. T'Challa is the bad guy of this series. Is what
he has been. I mean, even the bullshit in the very beginning that we sort of liked, right?
When he opposed democracy, and it was like, oh, that's interesting. Wakanda's going to become democratic. He's obviously in favor of the monarchy because he's a king. That's interesting conflict. That makes sense. How does this play out? And then he kind of abandoned that, never really played it out well, and then he just went into all this weird stuff.
Yeah, I can answer why John Ridley Drew had a question on how John Ridley keeps getting work. He's another Hollywood guy that they fawn over because they treat them like celebrities. It doesn't matter how incompetent they are and how bad they are. That's once again, it proves the point. That's why John Ridley keeps getting work.
So what did you think was worse, Gabe? Was it this Captain America, or I'm sorry, this Black Panther issue, or Dark Web Miss Marvel?
I got to read this Miss Marvel
Sophie's
now.
choice.
No, so all right. So the Ms. Marvel got the character's voice closer, better to who she's known for. So from that aspect, Ms. Marvel was better, but the plot around her was utter nonsense.
Pretty bad.
On the other side of it, T'Challa and Steve Rogers' voice was completely wrong for who they are as characters, even though the context of the plot makes sort of makes sense. I mean, if you take a world leader who's been basically installing assassin sleeper agents all over the world, that he can take the world leaders and the Avengers, his allies, when they find out about that, might be kind of pissed off. So that in the context of that broader story, that makes sense. But on the flip side of that, T'Challa would never do that. Or should never have done that in the first place. So the fact that you pair that story with that character completely disconnects everything that we know about T'Challa. T'Challa is more like he's a different side of the same coin as Namor. He has his kingdom. He does everything everything he says and does is about protecting his kingdom. So I kind of get that, but imagine it's installing Atlanteans all over the world that could act as sleeper agents that could kill people. Guess what? They just did that in Aquaman with that stupid Jackson Hyde story. That was the same premise. So now the publishers are copying each other. So Ms. Marvel gets the character right, but the story wrong.
Now they're copying each other.
Yeah, John Ridley gets the story right, but he gets the characters wrong because he puts them in the wrong story. So it depends on which one is more important to you, but they're both bad. It was just John Ridley. I hate this. I'm going to put on my Doc hat. Pretend I'm Doc, okay? I'm going to put on my Doc hat. Pretend I'm Doc. John Ridley is a flog. John Ridley is the flog that DC editorial uses to beat themselves up over their white guilt. Because he lets them write things because they're so guilty for being white that he lets them write utter garbage that beats everything they have down based on through a lens of race. That's my Doc hat.
Don't limit it to DC. He's doing it.
Yeah, it's Marvel and DC with him.
Think about what John Ridley wrote. He wrote the beginning of the I Am Batman series with James Fox. He wrote that Superman in the red, white, and blue, where he gets raped in prison. He wrote the
Secret History of the DC Universe.
DC, which was like really tone deaf. I mean, if you put that all together, everything he writes always seems to come back to abuse and rape and oppression and all kinds of other things.
Everything that was what his human on the inside was. So I saw exactly who he was in 2002.
Can you explain Undercover Brother, Doc? Because he wrote that too.
Yeah, well, he also. I can explain how anything in Hollywood is. There's 50 other people in the room.
Yeah, there's a lot of
They're
writers.
willing to tell him to go fuck himself. Nobody in the comics industry is.
No,
you read the stuff. It's like, I want to know who the protagonists are in his stories recently. Because I'm reading these, I'm like, man, who is really the hero here in these books? Who am I supposed to be rooting for? Because I really can't find him.
I think in the story before this, it was Shuri.
Yes,
trying to protect him from the new government of Wakanda.
Shuri and the Wakandan. That teenager that has vibranium in his blood.
That makes sense. It's vibranium's like
comics
now. No. It was not a high point for Marvel Comics.
At least when the engineer had 9 pints of liquid nanotech in her blood, it made fucking sense. Having a bunch of metal in your blood, you're just dead.
I mean, but given the choice, I would say which is the more worthless comic? It's probably the Marvel. That one's the more worthless comic.
That was the Miss Marvel comic was bad. It has nothing to do with Dark Web. Other than there's a talking moss, but I don't think they were really talking when they went demonic, right? Weren't they just killing?
I think they were talking. They were cracking jokes. Some of the some of the spinoffs, they were cracking jokes. Yeah,
I don't think they understand Inferno and what actually happened in their own universe. Then,
no.
I mean, Ms. Marvel is a more worthless comic because most tie-ins, what they'll do is they'll take a break from an existing title and an existing ongoing. They'll take a break from whatever arc is going in that title and then sort of connect it to the event and then come back when the tie-in is done. There is no current ongoing Ms. Marvel right now. They specifically wrote Dark Web, Ms. Marvel 1 and 2 for no other purpose than to specifically be tie-ins for Dark Web. That's the only reason those two issues exist.
No. They wrote those as tie-ins specifically to give Miss Marvel a title for 2 months. She doesn't have one. They needed to justify. They need to put her out on the market.
But that's the point. That's what I'm getting at. Is they all they did is they published those 2 comics specifically to put her back on the shelf, and they used the tie-in model as an excuse.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yes.
Right.
Agreed.
So there's no ongoing Ms. Marvel where they just took a break from the arc and they said, okay, let's tie in a Dark Web and then we'll come back. There is no Ms. Marvel right now. They publish those specifically as Ms. Marvel comics and justified it by making them Dark Web tie-ins. But what they do in those comics has almost nothing to do with Dark Web.
Yeah.
No, not very good. Let's see. We got some super chats here. Then we'll end this on a good note. Ryan Wilson says, "Can't wait for Superman joins the clan by John Ridley." Wouldn't doubt it. John Ridley, I think, is another Ta-Nehisi Coates case, who either wishes he was a victim and Wakanda was real, but hates what he sees in the mirror.
Ta-Nehisi Coates is like nth degree like race hustler, and John Ridley isn't close to that yet.
Yeah, John Ridley is, for as terrible as he is, he's an actual like fiction, media storyteller. Ta-Nehisi Coates is a poor essayist and a fake intellectual. There's a total difference between the two.
Cobbin says, saw Ridley's Batman. Lucius Fox cheated on his wife, and the woman is Jason's real mom. Why make Fox's family so unlikable? Hidayah is the question. Knock off.
We brought that up in our review of it. And like, everyone in this book is a miserable asshole, and it's just like, I don't understand the appeal of this book.
Sounds like a Rick Remender comic. Let's make everybody hateable.
Oh, black science. Dude,
his stuff's good. Uncanny X-Force is absolutely amazing.
Yes,
like there's no doubt. A lot of his stuff works pretty well. It's like, you can write a protagonist that just isn't an evil piece of shit that you can actually root for. Wraith X7, John Ridley is a conservative Republican.
We want to get him banned from the comic. Shush. Let this one happen. Because then he'll stop getting work. Then he'll stop getting work.
Maybe if that's the case. Who knows?
Let's gaslight the comic industry into believing that he actually is, so that he stops getting hired.
Let's talk about something that we can end on a high note with something I thought was pretty positive. We finally got Jeremy Adams' Flash 1 Minute War kicked off this week. It sounds like it was the first Flash comic book that Gray from Wakizashi's Tea House has ever read. I know you were super duper excited about this, Eric. Like, you were over the moon. You got a wicked pisser on waiting to pick up the comic book from your shop. Did it live up to your expectations?
it's good. I mean, it's just the opening of, what is it, 6 issues, 6-issue arc? How long is 1 Minute War going to be?
It doesn't matter. It was this
a minute.
good.
1 minute.
A minute. You're right. Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's got good pacing. It's got good art. It's a classic Flash issue. I mean, like, should I even, like, broach my my theory? Remember Crackle and Wally racing Crackle way back in the 90s? And Crackle was like a sentient radio signal. This looks like Crackle all grown up. You know what I mean? So wouldn't be surprised if that pans out at the end.
Jim says it's 7 issues and a special, so 8 issues.
7 issues and a special, and I'm in for that. Yeah, I like.
So you're recommending it?
I would totally. Yeah, it's my favorite one of the week. Yeah, I only got 3. I only got 3 floppies this week, and this was the best. And a back issue too. The Dark Crisis tie-in part 1. You know what I mean? I finally picked that up, and but yeah, this was great, and this was okay. But yeah, I'm thinking, hey, Gray, found it a good jump on spot, and that's what it's built to be. That so new readers, welcome, come aboard. It's good art.
If you're unaware of the entire totality of the Flash family, you will be a little bit overwhelmed because they're all in there.
They are.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, like, great. I mean, it's good to see Kid Flash and Impulse all hanging out. And I'm a big fan of Jesse Quick.
And it's got your 90s artist Roger Cruz on it too.
Yeah, So this is
It definitely looks a lot different than the Fernando Passeron art we've been used to.
Mhm.
Well, the thing about
Right.
this guy is he can get it done quick.
I'm not saying it's bad. It's just different.
No, yeah, it is.
If you were used to that one. Now, Gabe, I know normally you're a ray of sunshine, but you're going to have to piss on everybody's Wheaties here. You didn't like the comic book.
No, it's not that I didn't like it. I just thought it was.
You didn't like it much.
I liked it.
I read
okay.
the review. You pissed all over it.
I didn't piss all over it. I liked it. Okay. All right. Give me the choice: Lazarus Planet or 1 Minute War. I'll take Lazarus Planet. Just between the two, that's the one I'll take.
A little bit more epic.
Well, yeah. The Flash 790, which is the start of the 1 Minute War, is an excellent jumping on point if you've never read the Flash. If you want to get into the Flash and you have no idea what's going on and who all the people are, that's a perfect jumping on point. So on that one, thumbs up. But the reason that's excellent jumping on point is because the comics spend so much time telling you where everybody is within the Flash family. It does very little to set up the enemy or what they're trying to do, and it's sort of, I won't say one-dimensional, but it's very little setup for the conflict. Most of the issue is just telling you where all the different players are within the Flash family. So it's very much a setup issue. That's not wrong. That's not bad. But if you're talking about the big epic, punch you right in the face with emotion and impact, Lazarus Planet wins on that one. So
you thought Predator #1 was better than Flash 1 Minute War?
I liked it better. Yes. I liked it better. No, that's the #1 issue. I think Predator has kind of gone downhill a little bit for me because
a lot.
Person is just like he's got to figure that story out, and I don't think he's quite done it yet. I have to catch up on the next issue, which is coming up soon.
Jim called you out, Gabe. He just put you on blast.
Fine. I'll talk to him. I'll DM later, and we'll get that straightened out. No, I mean, just for me, it's more set up than impact. And so if you're looking for a good jumping on point, it's great. But if you're an existing Flash fan, you already know where all the Flash players are and what they're doing. You just don't get a lot out of the issue other than the appearance of the enemy, which is called the fraction. The fraction of the second. They're called the fraction. And all they do is they show up because they're expanding their territory. I mean, it's very, very basic sort of aliens attack type of scenario. There's nothing particularly special about it, just this big alien invasion. That's what it is. There's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, if you're looking for something that's really going to blow you away, if you're already up to speed on the Flash, you're just not going to find it here. It's just set up for people who don't know where the Flash players are. Stop putting those up on the screen.
You said the Avengers run is great. That's
absolutely not true. That's a lie. That's awfully a lie. I'm going to call Jim out on that.
You work with Jim on a daily basis.
I don't even cover the Avengers. I don't even bother with him anymore. So he's got somebody else covering the Avengers. So that's a bald-faced lie, and I will take him to task on that one. It's good.
You called him bald? Is Jim bald? The bald-faced lie. Oh my goodness.
Short, but he's not bald. 790 is a good starting point for somebody who doesn't know anything about the Flash. But if you already know about the Flash and you want a big wow, sock you right between the eyes moment, they didn't.
It's not in that comic book. But if you love the Flash family and you want a celebration of that before we get into this big war, it's a very enjoyable comic book.
It's going to be a war. There will be casualties. Have we had one already? So
there might have been one.
I think this suffers probably from.
That's not going to stick. That casualty is not going to stick.
Of course not. No, I mean, I think it suffers from writing for the trade because it's definitely the cold open of a story. So just we come into it and nothing really happens in a $3.99 comic book besides all the setup to the cliffhanger, then which is going to start the whole series. But
I thought I managed to sit out the whole conversation of 1 Minute War.
Well,
are we doing it again? Or are we doing it again now?
No, we're just covering. I mean,
we're covering recommendations.
Yeah, the other issue is coming out of 789. Flash 789. That ending was rushed. That was a very rushed ending. So if you were looking for something big to come out of the Flash, for that whole event with the Warden Wolf, Warden Wolf, they really kind of jumped through that really quick just to get it over with to jump into this. So
you have to admit this is the best week DC's had in probably 6 weeks.
It's a good week. It's a good week for DC. For Marvel, no. For DC, yeah, it was good.
Marvel hasn't had a good week in 2 months.
And
Maybe
one
a
more
little
thing
longer.
about Flash, I'd like to say that issue 800 is right around the corner within this next year. And so
Don't worry, they won't flash and run towards it as fast as they can.
They don't worry. They'll just stick 45 flashes in there, and it'll be the most character destroying moment in history.
probably, yeah,
Now,
'cause
can we
that's where
fucking move on?
status quos have changed at these milestone issues, right? I mean,
Back
they're,
on
they're
DC.
No, another 97 flashes is not a status quo change. It's just par for the fucking course. Can we please move on?
Yeah, you're right. I went through the whole
I haven't even
Marvel
heard
list
from
for last
you
week,
yet.
and it was not one I would recommend for Marvel this week.
The thing I'll say about Flash, really quick, so that I don't want to piss Doc off anymore. I'm looking at this as a whole, and I have challenged my customers to pick up this book, read the book, and then digest it as it's coming out quickly. And understanding that it's going to be coming out quickly, we're going to get some of these more sparse issues that's going to be more art driven. And we're not going to, within a minute, how much time can they, how much plot can there really be, I guess. But I'm okay with it because it feels like, it's a gimmick. It's something that I'm okay with. At least it's a story. They're trying to make you buy the book so that you read it and enjoy it rather than it's just a bunch of flashy bullshit. Maybe it is flashy bullshit. I thought it was pretty good. I liked it.
Were people buying it? Were they happy?
Yeah, I'm almost sold out. I've already done the reorder on it, and I thought it was bi-weekly, but they got this next one the week after, so which is good because,
as I said, they might be
first
racing
issue-
towards that 800th issue.
Yeah.
As fast as they can. Got to get another milestone in there. Get a little bumperooski like they got the Harley Quinn 80th or 30th anniversary. So, Drew, I thought it was good. Maybe not is mind-blowingly epic as Lazarus Planet.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was all right. It was good. Kyle and I, we took we're from the Midwest. You're from the Midwest, Wes, originally. And we love our barbecue here. And if someone comes to a barbecue in the Midwest and they said, I hope that's the meatless barbecue, get the fuck out of here. Sorry, that's just how it is. But I know someone said, oh, that's Animal Man. No, Animal Man knows better. Get the fuck out of here. This is the actual Midwest barbecue. Yeah, you're going to get your ass kicked if you ask that.
My goodness. You guys actually forced Doc out of the conversation. He left the building.
Oh, boy.
At
least he's having a cigarette.
He might be blowing a fag. I'm not sure. But
I'll say the part one was okay. It's a good intro. But part two, next week, it steps it up. It's actually really good. Part two is better than part one. I really enjoyed it. I'll say that.
Very nice. So there you go. We recommend Flash 1 Minute War. Gabe, not as highly as the rest of us, but if you're a fan of the Flash, you haven't been on it, there's an event kicking off. It's going to be weekly, bi-weekly, something like that. You're going to get a lot of issues in there. And it was a good week for DC Comics. And that will be represented in our Best of the Week conversation after this with Drew. That's going to be a lot of fun. We do have one super chat. Let's hear from Kenneth Dowling. Hello, fellas. Just getting over a cold. Hope you all are good. I read DC Lazarus Planet. It was a good read. I've been looking for back issues lately. You are not the only one looking for back issues, my friend. And I hope you feel better very soon. Get over your cold. And I hope you enjoyed Lazarus Planet as much as we did. And hopefully you picked up an issue of The Flash because that was very good. Good to see Kenneth in here. Hopefully he's doing very well soon. Let's get to our comic book recommendations. We're going to end up a little early this week because Doc, he was just upset about it. Gabe, what do you recommend this week?
Right, mostly a DC week. So I'll go to that first. Shameless plug. Follow Weird Science DC Comics, Weird Science Marvel Comics. Also comical opinions for everything outside of Marvel and DC. So check us out. We got reviews for days, and there's always something for somebody. So please check us out. Regarding recommendations, I'm going to recommend Lazarus Planet Alpha #1, of course. Flash 790. I didn't like it as much as Lazarus Planet, but I'm still going to recommend it because it was still good. On the DC side, I'm also going to recommend Batman and Joker, the Deadly Duo #3. I did like that, where it's shifting into more of Batman getting into detective mode, and I think that was really well done. So I quite enjoyed that issue a bit. And then more on the indie side of things, I'm going to recommend Blade Runner 2039 #2, which is the advent of the first replicant Blade Runner, according to the comics anyway. So that's an interesting story, and it really is picking up steam. First issue I wasn't so keen on. Second issue is getting much better, and I like that series. I like
the Blade Runner stuff from Titan Comics has been really good.
Yeah, it's been exceptional. Very much leaning into the aesthetic and the sort of the cyber tech future detective noir atmosphere from the films, and they've been doing a good job of capturing that same atmosphere and then telling new stories with that. So I liked it a lot.
Very nice.
Blade Runner 2032?
2039.
2039. I put on my
There's
list.
a whole list of them. I would read the very first one that they did. What was it? 2019.
They did a 2019. They did a 2029. Now they're doing a 2039. They're doing whole volumes of and some of the characters.
I would start with 2019, which is really, really good.
And they also did a Blade Runner Origins where they show you the rise of the first Blade Runner.
Yep.
That's kind of interesting.
They're all very good if you like those universes. Kenneth says, I read Batman and Joker Dynamic Duo. Surprisingly, I think it's the best Bat book out there. Doc, you should check it out. Drew in Florida. We love barbecue as well, buddy.
Oh, yeah. I lived down there for 6 years. Yeah, I do.
I bet you, Drew. There's no way Kenneth Dowling does meatless barbecue. You know what I mean? Kenneth's got hair on his chest. You could just tell by looking at it. You know what I mean? You guys got me. Thank you very much, Kenneth. I'm glad you enjoyed Batman and Joker Dynamic Duo. There's a good chance Drew and I will be talking about in our Best of the Week video after this. Drew, let's not give away too many spoilers, but how can people get their hands on Born of Blood number 3? What's that?
Born of Blood number 3 special edition. I tried putting in the chat in the comments, but it blocks it for some reason.
You can't
go to
do links
Kickstarter
unless you're a moderator.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Born of Blood 3 special edition. You just type that into Kickstarter or Google. Do a Google search. It'll pop right up. Sign up to be notified when it goes live next week. Hopefully on Wednesday. That's what we're shooting for next Wednesday next week. Should be going live. We've got some great hot new covers coming out. I can't say who, but we're going to be including a ton of extras, behind the scenes stuff, and you guys are going to. I enjoyed. I had so much fun. It was so challenging writing issue 3. They included Leonidas. Had to write him for the first time, so that was challenging in itself. But I hope you guys really, really do check this out and enjoy it as much as I enjoyed writing it.
Very nice. Wow. 3620 says, Midtown Comics is getting my cash next week. Lazarus Planet Alpha, Minute War, Nightwing 100, and World's Finest. Very good choices, sir. And I think you're going to be very happy. I'm sorry, ma'am. And but just be wary of Lazarus Planet after Alpha until Omega, because Mark Waid isn't going to be writing it anymore. And you had a warning out for Nightwing 100?
Yes, I did. Yeah, number 100. The big fights we want, they're not going to go down the way we want. We're not even going to get the big showdown. Sorry, spoiler alert, that we've all been waiting for the past some odd 50 issues. If you like lectures about the prison system, this is the comic for you. So there you go.
Yeah, that sounds very exciting. Who else we got? Eric, what are you recommending this week?
I have Flash 790. That's my recommendation. I only bought 2 comic books this week, 2 new comic books this week, Flash 790 and Lazarus Planet Alpha, of which I balanced my stance a bit after watching Jim and Wes talk about it on their video, and I appreciated their input, so it balanced my opinion of it. I might have been a little harsh yesterday, maybe. No, I mean, it wasn't just, it's not my cup of tea, but definitely Flash is. But also, I went to my local comic book store. I spent $50 on 3 floppies, a used DVD of UHF.
That's such a good movie.
It's
got Kramer before Kramer was Kramer, you know what I mean?
Fran Drescher. She's not even 30 years old in this, man. She's gorgeous. Bobby
Conan the Librarian. Yeah, so many good puns.
The Wheel of Fish.
Underrated film.
You can drink from the fire
Badgers.
Yes. You're stupid. and 2 short boxes. And I bought 2 short boxes. So while you're buying your new comic books, make sure you're buying some supplies, especially for all those back issues you want to get. So get some bags, get some boards, get some boxes, and keep spending money at your local comic book shop. You know?
Absolutely.
Indeed. And thank you so much for having me on once again, and Wes and everyone here. Thank you so much. And the best live chat on the planet.
Kenneth says, have a good day, fellas. Sorry I missed the show. I'll have a few good hero villain fights for you next week. Peace. Well, I hope you're feeling better. It's absolutely understandable. You can catch us on the replay. Thank you for supporting the channel. And I hope you have a wonderful day recovering from your cold, sir. And hopefully you get a kick back, enjoy some football if that is your thing, because we are finally into the NFL playoffs, and that could be very exciting. Yule Carter, you are a man that trades in comic books. You know the comic book shop. What were you recommending this week?
Well, I recommend you subscribe to my channel, Fantastic Comics, because I am cracking slabs now. Can't stand them. And this week, I'm going to two reasons why not to keep your comics in CGC slabs.
Are you going to have Doc with you to rant on this one? That seems like something he could get into.
I've thought about stuff. I don't want to steal too many of your guys.
Doc lives to talk about comic books. I've only got so much airtime that I can give the man.
I gotta put the censored background on my screen if that happens. From last week's Spy Superb by Matt Kent, he does the writing and the art. It's stylized art, that you might not enjoy, but it's very good. And it's funny. It's like an unwitting spy that's running through and killing fools accidentally. So if you enjoy that type of thing, it's a little expensive, but it's very good. I've been okay. Like the only X-Men book I'm reading right now is the main title. I don't hate it. And if you're a fan of that whole Wolverine Sync storyline that's going on, that's getting answered right now. That was pretty good. And then I haven't entirely finished it. And the art, Alan Davis on art for Avengers War Across Time. It's a little sketchy. He doesn't have his normal inker. It doesn't look as great as it normally would, or at least I think how it should look. But Paul Levitz is telling a traditional Avengers story. For those of you that aren't a fan of the Jason Aaron stuff, I'd probably check that out too.
Very interesting. We got Frank Zanka. He says, happy Saturday, everyone. If Lazarus Planet is in full continuity, then none of the Batman books are actually in continuity. What's your take? That is a serious concern for DC Comics right now.
Good call.
Because I'm not really sure. But with the Omniverse, I guess the answer is, Gabe, that everything is in continuity. And nothing is in continuity?
If everything counts, nothing counts.
Everything counts because nothing. Dak is exactly right. Everything counts. There is no for DC Comics. Let's put Marvel aside. For DC Comics, there is no such thing as continuity anymore. Unless and until they do something that says this is definitively where we are, there is no such thing as continuity anymore, because you have all these different events, all these different characters fighting all these different things happening at the same time. They're not making a distinction about this is a different timeline, this is the past, this is the future. These are all these things happening at the same time, and yet you have multiple characters in the same place, or I should say in different places at the same time.
You have characters that are dead.
One is dead, one is alive, this one is injured, these two are over here in love with each other, these two are in love with somebody else at the same time. I'm looking at you, Nightwing. There is no continuity. Forget it.
Yeah.
Unless and until DC
Batman
does a hard reset.
Died
anymore.
3 times in the last 3 months. Right? With the Justice League, he was dead. He died in Batman with Chip Zdarsky, and he died in Batman versus Robin.
Yeah. There is no continuity anymore. For DC, there is no continuity. I hear you. I know what you want, and I want the same thing. DC has no continuity anymore. They have shelved it. They don't care. They don't care. It's okay to let it go. Be at peace with the lack of continuity.
You're absolutely seeing what is there, is what we're trying to say, Frank. You are absolutely correct. The answer is yes.
I won't with the force. The force is with me. Just let it go.
This is a little bit frustrating. Last but not least, Doc, you were not on the new comic book grind anymore. Unfortunately, you're not getting to experience Batman the Joker Deadly Duo from Mark Silvestri, your favorite artist of all times.
Nope.
Do you have any comic books you think people should check out anyway?
Actually, since we got a surprise cameo of Ali Garza today, I'm going to recommend going back and picking up his. You can probably find it in back issue bins. He did a 6-issue miniseries way back when, under Wildstorm's. I think it was their Spotlight line. But it was called Ninja Boy. Go pick it up. It was a good, fun, kind of superhero ninja story. It was good and fun.
We're selling those last night. Yeah, we
yep.
got a bunch of those signed.
Yep. And in honor of also Drew pulling out a bunch of his slabs over there, I'm going to recommend, because he had a beautiful signed copy of X-Men 101. So if you can find one at a reasonable price, which good fucking luck. I picked mine up for about 10 years ago for like 125, ended up slabbing it, and it came out of 9.2. So it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Find a raw copy, find one that's in really nice shape. And actually, I just picked up something the other day that I've been kind of on the hunt for. I'm a little disappointed in the condition. It doesn't look as good as the
Ren and
photos
Stimpy?
show. No. The X-Men 221 So Much Fun variant. It was an obscure reprint, and it's a reprint of the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. You can distinguish it from the regular one by it has the exact same cover, exact same coloring on the cover, except for under the X-Men logo it says classic. And even though it was not an issue of X-Men Classic, so it has the same script as the X-Men Classic series, except for it's just a regular reprinting of 221, and it's the first appearance of Mr. Sinister. Obscure, reprint that goes for decent money if you can find one.
I don't think I've ever seen that until now. Until you mentioned that, I've never seen that at a convention.
Yeah, the X-Men 221 So Much Fun variant down in the corner box at the bottom where there'd be a UPC, or often around that time you'd have the Spidey head or Captain America or whatever. Logos. It literally just says the words "So Much Fun" on 3 lines. So go see if you can find a copy. It's a cool little chase variant, low print run, hard to find, in good condition, because it was another one of those. I don't know if they came from, like they do like the Sears and JCPenney reprints in the early 90s. Remember whenever you were a kid and you get the Christmas catalog from JCPenney, and it would have like the sets of comic books. A lot of the older ones that you saw in there were reprints. Those are also difficult to find. They are the JCPenney reprints. They're not like just,
all right, buddy. This is another video you're getting into here.
So go
make a short out of this.
Yeah,
that would be a good video.
So the X-Men 221 So Much Fun variant. See if you can find one. They're very weird, very cool,
very nice. Next week, I think Gervain's going to be on the channel. There's a good chance Fatal J be on the channel. We'll be talking nonsense. We'll be talking geek stuff, the things you would expect at your local comic book shop, because that's what we're here for. We'll see you next week here on the Comics Aficionados, and definitely be checking out Yule's stream there. It sounds like he's cracking open.
It's going to be an expensive slab this week.
Very nice. That could be exciting.